Chapter 235. This guy, Donghuang, who had just put away the core medicine, heard the voice coming from outside and could not help but shake his head. He was indeed a spoiled brat. He actually found this kind of thing fun. However, he was happy to have someone help him get rid of the counterfeits, and he did not need to do it himself. After asking Lu Lang about the items that the people of the Summer Valley had recently placed on the bounty list, Donghuang asked him to prepare some cheap materials. Donghuang, are you sure that the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed on the bounty list can be forged with these cheap materials? After helping Donghuang gather the cheap materials and handing them to him, Lu Lang's eyes widened in disbelief. However, when he saw with his own eyes that Donghuang had turned waste into treasure and refined a pile of cheap materials into the items that the people of the Summer Valley had placed on the bounty list, he could not help but be dumbfounded. My God! Lu Lang looked at the items in front of him for a while and realized that he could not tell that they were counterfeits at all. Without destroying them, it was impossible to tell that they were counterfeits. And the person who sold these items, even if they were real, would not allow anyone to destroy them. This was the same logic as the 9 counterfeits that Donghuang had sold a month ago. Now I'm looking forward to the expressions of those elders of the Summer Valley when they discover that they are counterfeits after buying these items. Lu Lang, who was eager to see the world in chaos, followed Donghuang's instructions and selected the most expensive items on the bounty list that could be forged. These were all items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on. The cheapest item had a bounty of 300 high-quality spirit stones. The most expensive item had a bounty of 1,000 high-quality spirit stones. The items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on were so expensive that when the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect saw the bounties on them, they would leave the sect and put in a lot of effort to find these items. Normally, in less than half a month, the people of the sect would be able to find the items that they were looking for. However, this time Lu Lang was destined to beat them to it. More accurately, it was the people that Lu Lang had found who beat them to it. Donghuang, if I find people to help, I will not take a cut myself. The people that I find, I will give them 10% of their hard work. How about that? Lu Lang asked Donghuang. Yes. Donghuang nodded. Do as you see fit. For the next period of time, I will continue to train in seclusion. Before I come out of seclusion, don't disturb me. As long as the Autumn Valley head says the word, Donghuang will definitely not dare to act recklessly. A few elders of the Summer Valley bowed to Lien Kun and pleaded in unison. Valley head, please help us in the Summer Valley. Seeing this, Lien Kun could not help but frown. He did not like the feeling of being forced to do something beyond his abilities. However, since the elders of the Summer Valley had already gone to this extent, if he continued to reject them, he would inevitably lose their trust. I will make a trip to the Autumn Valley in the next 2 days. After receiving Lien Kun's reply, the elders of the Summer Valley left in satisfaction. After the few of them left, Lien Kun's face turned completely gloomy and extremely ugly. Not long after, news of the elders of the Summer Valley buying fake goods, and more than 2,000 high-quality spirit stones in total, once again caused an uproar in the Lightning Sword sect. That Autumn Valley disciple is so daring? I thought he had become smarter. I did not expect that in just a short month he would cause such a huge ruckus again. This time, the Summer Valley's losses are even more ridiculous than the last time. He is digging a hole for the Summer Valley. Now, even some of the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect who did not know Donghuang before now learned of his existence from their fellow disciples. Of course, their knowledge of Donghuang, apart from his identity as a disciple of the Autumn Valley, was limited to the fact that he could easily fool even primordial soul adepts. Senior Brother Lien, this matter is getting out of hand. If we had known, we would not have sold fake 9-ring bamboo to Donghuang of the Autumn Valley. Pan Yulin smiled bitterly as he spoke in Lien Kan's residence in the Summer Valley. He had never imagined that, just because he and Lien Kan had been on a whim, so many people of the Summer Valley had been harmed by fake goods. In this period of time, he could see that some of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been deceived now looked at him differently. In the past they had ignored him, but now they looked at him with hatred. He was sure, if not for the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, which forbade members of the same sect from harming each other for no reason, the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley might have already made a move on him. After all, in the eyes of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley, it was Pan Yulin who had indirectly caused them to buy fake goods and lose a large number of spirit stones. Since it has already been done, there is no room for regret. Lien Kan said calmly, My master has already gone to the Autumn Valley to look for the Autumn Valley head. He went there to discuss this matter. From today onwards this matter has come to an end. However, in the instant home, Lien Can's lips curled into a cold smile, and his eyes shone with a murderous intent. That Zhou Donghuang actually dared to ask me to kneel and kowtow in front of him and apologize. This enmity has been formed. As long as I find an opportunity, he will definitely die. The matter of the fake goods has come to an end, but the show between me and him has only just begun. As long as he is in the Lightning Sword sect, I will suppress him. As he spoke, the cold smile on Lien Can's face deepened. At this time, Pan Yilin also took the opportunity to flatter Lien Can, that Zhou Donghuang, he has offended you, senior brother Lien. Sooner or later he will be in deep trouble. There is still time. Take your time to play with him. Lien Can smiled mockingly. At the same time, the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, was sitting opposite He Jin in the courtyard of the Autumn Valley head's residence. Senior brother Lien Kun, you must have something to ask of me, right? He Jin asked with a smile. Junior brother I have indeed come to find you. Lien Kun nodded. I did not intend to come, but the elders of the Summer Valley came to ask for my permission. I had no choice but to come. Oh? What is it that's so serious? He Jin's face was full of surprise. Junior brother your Autumn Valley has a new disciple who has been in the sect for almost 2 months. Zhou Donghuang, you should know of him, right? He has not yet reached the Dharma stage, but he has entered the Autumn Valley. He needs your permission personally. Lien Kun asked. Zhou Donghuang? Of course I know of him. He Jin nodded. Speaking of which, he is the new disciple that my girl brought into the Autumn Valley. At first, I only thought that his martial arts talent was passable, but after listening to Han Ku, I found out that he is also good at creating fake goods. He can even fool primordial soul adepts. Senior brother Lien Kun, you did not come to find me because of what he did to the Summer Valley a month ago, did you? He Jin asked. If it was only about what happened a month ago, it would not be a big deal. Lien Kun shook his head. Yesterday, a few elders of the Summer Valley bought another batch of fake goods. In total, they lost more than 2,000 superior-level spirit stones. They suspect that the fake goods came from your Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Donghuang. This is different from a month ago when the person who sold the fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley personally confessed to Zhou Donghuang. This time, the person who sold the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley is not willing to reveal the source of the fake goods. I came to find you, junior brother mainly because I want you to help me ask Zhou Donghuang. If he did not do it, then so be it. If he was the one who did it, it was enough. After all, indulging in unorthodox ways will affect his practice, and he may even be unable to continue staying in the Autumn Valley when he is 30. Lien Kun's words sounded more like he was thinking of Zhou Donghuang. End of this chapter. It was an insurmountable gap. Even the weakest Dharma adept could not be killed by a golden essence adept. At least, in the history of the Lightning Sword sect, the Tailao planet, and the Hunglio galaxy, she had never heard of a golden essence adept being able to kill a Dharma adept. This had already subverted everything she knew. Because of this, she felt that her junior brother couldn't be treated as an ordinary golden core cultivator, and she even subconsciously felt that he was extremely outstanding. Therefore at this time she subconsciously asked her father if the Summer Valley head was here to poach him? Poach him? He Jin was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook his head and said, No. He's here because he wants me to speak to your junior brother and ask him not to forge the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed a bounty on in the future and let people sell fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley. Fake goods? He Mingshi was stunned. After all, she had just returned, and after all, she did not know about the incident that had caused an uproar in half of the Lightning Sword sect a month ago. However, as He Jin explained, she very quickly understood the ins and outs of the matter. At the same time, she also knew the reason why the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, had come this time. He has this kind of ability? He Mingshi did not know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, a cold light flashed in her eyes. However, that Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin, actually dared to sell fake goods to Donghuang and bully him? He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Knowing that Donghuang had been cheated, He Mingshi was obviously very angry. My good daughter, your junior brother has already avenged Donghuang, so this matter has come to an end. Let's just end it here. He Jin felt a headache coming on. He naturally understood his own daughter very well, and with her temper she would definitely help Donghuang get back at him. Some things you still have to do it yourself to vent your anger. He Mingshi said. As for what junior brother has done this time, I feel that it has helped to vent my anger. Father, you're not really going to look for junior brother and ask him to stop forging fake goods to sell to the people of the Summer Valley, are you? You can't do this. If you go look for him, I'll fall out with you. He Mingshi said to He Jin with a serious face, and the latter agreed immediately. He could only silently apologize to the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, in his heart. I'm going to look for junior brother and Donghuang. After saying goodbye to He Jin, He Mingshi left in a hurry. However, she only found Donghuang. Donghuang was practicing in his own room. He Mingshi did not disturb his practice and immediately called out to Donghuang, Donghuang, let's go. Follow me to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilin. He even dared to touch my people. He must have eaten the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard. He Mingshi's eyes flashed coldly as she looked in the direction of the Summer Valley. Although within the Lightning Sword sect, disciples of the same sect were not allowed to fight without reason. Not to mention the fact that there was no evidence to prove that Pan Yilin had sold fake goods to Donghuang. Even if he had really done so, it was within the rules of the sect, and they could not use this reason to cause trouble for Pan Yilin. But who was He Mingshi? She was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and she was the only daughter at that. With such a status, even if she really hurt someone, as long as the matter was not serious enough, even if the law enforcement hall arrested her, they could not really do anything to her. In fact, the most troublesome people for the law enforcement hall were He Mingshi and Lu Lang, who were the only daughters and sons of the valley heads. Even if He Mingshi and Lu Lang went to the law enforcement hall, the people of the law enforcement hall still treated them like their ancestors. Senior sister, there's no need. Donghuang shook his head and smiled. Junior brother has already helped me take revenge. I'm not unhappy anymore and I am not angry anymore. You big fool. He Mingshi shook her head. Since you are not going, then I will go alone. As soon as she finished speaking, she did not wait for Donghuang to speak and quickly flew away. She left the Autumn Valley and headed for the Summer Valley. He Mingshi was a very protective person. A large part of the reason why Donghuang had respected her in his previous life was because He Mingshi's protective attitude gave him a sense of home. During that period of time he felt very secure. It was as if even if the sky collapsed, third senior sister would hold it up for him. Pan Yilin, get out here. After He Mingshi went to the Summer Valley and asked for Pan Yilin's address, she went straight there and shouted. Her voice was so loud that it spread across a large area. It's He Mingshi. That Pan Yilin fellow, did he offend He Mingshi? Many people of the Summer Valley came out to take a look and recognized He Mingshi. However, even some of the elders of the Summer Valley, although they saw that He Mingshi had come aggressively, had no intention of interfering. They all pretended not to see anything. Senior sister He? Pan Yilin, who was practicing in his room, was startled awake by He Mingshi. His face was pale. He had not intended to go out, but when he thought that He Mingshi might just tear down his residence if he did not go out, he could only muster his courage and go out. I hope senior brother Lien can step out in time, otherwise I will definitely not be able to escape a beating from this senior sister He. Pan Yilin walked out of the room helplessly and rose into the air. He looked at He Mingshi, who was standing in the air far away, and braced himself to greet her. Senior sister He. Pan Yilin, you are really amazing. You even dared to lie to Donghuang. He Mingshi looked at Pan Yilin deeply and said, it seems like you do not respect me at all. Senior sister He, you have misunderstood. Pan Yilin smiled bitterly and said, that matter was a misunderstanding. The 9-ring bamboo that I sold to Donghuang was real, not fake. He Mingshi interrupted Pan Yilin and asked calmly, you mean? Donghuang is slandering you? I. Seeing that He Mingshi's gaze had turned cold, Pan Yilin felt his scalp go numb. At the same time he felt that he would not be able to escape this beating. He could only hope that this senior sister He would show mercy and not be too heavy-handed. Of course he would definitely not die or be crippled. On this point he still believed that He Mingshi had a sense of propriety. And just as He Mingshi's vital energy swept out and condensed into the Dharma power of a giant tiger that was 10 feet tall, preparing to attack Pan Yilin, a figure floated out and blocked in front of Pan Yilin. Junior sister Mingshi. The person who had appeared was the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun. Lien Kun was not only Lien Kun's personal disciple, but he was also Lien Kun's adopted son. He was an orphan that Lien Kun had picked up and brought back to be adopted. Lien Kun was actually younger than He Mingshi by 3 years, but his martial arts talent was slightly higher than He Mingshi's. Although he was younger than He Mingshi, his level of cultivation was not lower than He Mingshi's. Lien Kun, this matter has nothing to do with you. He Mingshi frowned and said in a low voice, Get lost. Zhou Donghuang did not know that his third senior sister, He Mingxi, had already returned. Now he was completely immersed in his practice. The core drug that he had produced was called the developing essence, and was a type of ancient core drug. In his previous life, after he had attained the heavenly stage, he had accidentally obtained the formula in an ancient relic. It was the fruit of the blood and sweat of the ancient people, and it had long been lost in the boundless universe at that time. The developing essence could allow golden essence adepts to forcefully condense their dharma power in a short period of time. Of course, during this process, a spirit gathering spell was needed to absorb the spirit energy from heaven and earth. Coupled with the medicinal power of the developing essence, the golden essence would manifest its dharma power. 4 developing essence, each with medicinal power entering a golden essence. I wonder if I can directly manifest the dharma power of the 4 mythical beasts. Zhou Donghuang was somewhat expectant. End of this chapter. In his previous life, out of all the rare spirit fruits that he knew of, it was rare for even one to be his. But in this life, with the memories from his previous life, he was completely able to act before the various forces and experts could act and collect those spirit fruits. To Zhou Donghuang in this life, the memories of his past life were no different from a cheating device. More than 300,000 mid-tier spirit stones are equivalent to more than 30,000 high-tier spirit stones. It's enough for me to use for a while. 30,000 high-quality spirit stones. Even in the Lightning Sword sect, there were not many people who could afford such a sum. Zhou Donghuang had obtained the spirit stones from the graves of a few Dharma adepts who had reached the end of their lives. Unlike those who came from sects, these adepts did not have many ready-made resources. Instead, they focused on searching for and earning spirit stones. Only with spirit stones could they purchase the various resources they needed. He did not seem like someone who came from a sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, as long as one completed the various tasks given out by the sect, they would be able to earn a certain amount of contribution points. The accumulated contribution points could be used to exchange for core drugs, spirit weapons, and even some rare materials. In the Lightning Sword sect, there were some things that could not be bought with spirit stones. One had to use contribution points. Of course, after using contribution points to exchange for items, one could then exchange them for spirit stones at the trade center. This was also possible. In the entire boundless universe, as long as the other sects were presentable, they were basically all similar to the Lightning Sword sect. Under such circumstances, those who came from sects, with the exception of the few people at the top of a sect, generally did not have as much spiritual stones as those rogue cultivators who dared to fight outside, unless they had a fortuitous encounter and made a fortune outside. Because of this, the amount of spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang could use now, not to mention the outer sect elders of the Lightning Sword sect, even among the inner sect elders, there were not many who could match up to him. Of course, those who stood at the top of the Lightning Sword sect, like the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, the 5 hall heads of the outer sect, and the elders of the Lightning Peak, their spirit stone wealth was definitely astonishing. This was because many of the things that could be exchanged for with contribution points in the sect were contributed by them. Correspondingly, the sect would give them a certain amount of spirit stones as compensation. 10,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough to set up a chi gathering spell, right? Donghuang could feel it when he was training because he was close to it. The other people of the Autumn Valley, including the Summer Valley elders who were at the mid-primordial soul stage, did not notice anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence. Now, within the Autumn Valley, the only person who had noticed anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence was the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. And this was also because Zhou Donghuang's residence and He Jin's residence were in the same direction of the Autumn Valley, and they were not far apart. Otherwise, even He Jin would not have been able to detect the abnormality in the spirit energy around Zhou Donghuang's residence. Spirit energy is all gathering towards him. This speed of gathering is not as exaggerated as when the sect leader was training, much less when I was training. He Jin stood in the air and looked at the courtyard where Zhou Donghuang was staying in. His face was full of shock. Is he training? Is he really just a primal core adept? End of this chapter. Chapter 238. The practice of a primal core adept was even more impressive than that of a divine transformation adept. Although He Jin was the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, he could not help but be stunned. He had no idea what was going on. He had never encountered such a situation before. However, he also knew how difficult it was to gather spirit energy at such a speed. At least, even the Divine Transformation Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect could not do it. This Zhou Donghuang is not simple. He either has a treasure or some special method to absorb spirit energy so quickly. Eugene thought to himself. Where did he come from? Looks like I'll have to ask Mingxi when I get back. Jin's expression turned solemn as he thought of this. To absorb spirit energy at such a frightening speed, even if only half of the spirit energy was converted into inner yuan, the speed of practice was still terrifying. Now, Zhou Donghuang did not know that while he was practicing, the movement of spirit energy had attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, Jin. He was fully immersed in the practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes. He had no idea how much time had passed. It felt like a century, but at the same time, it felt like only an instant. During this process, he glanced at his dantian and discovered that the embryonic form of a Dharma power had begun to appear on all four of his golden cores. He had experienced this scene in his previous life, so he was very familiar with the scene in front of him. Time continued to pass. At this time, Zhou Donghuang could vaguely see that the outline of the Dharma power on the four golden essences in his body had already formed a clear outline. Is that the green dragon Dharma power? The outline of the Dharma power on one of the golden essences looked a little like a snake, but its body was huge, and it had the outline of 5 claws on its abdomen. 5-clawed green dragon? What's going on? Shouldn't it be a 4-clawed green dragon? In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had met Dharma adepts who had formed the divine dragon Dharma power. He knew that the divine dragon Dharma power was a 4-clawed divine dragon. But now, the embryonic form of the Dharma power on one of his golden cores had the outline of a 5-clawed divine dragon. Even for the dragon race, one of the 10,000 races in the universe, the divine dragon Dharma power that they condense when they reach the Dharma stage is only a 4-clawed divine dragon. Only when they step into the primordial soul realm can they condense the primordial soul of a 5-clawed divine dragon. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had interacted with the dragon clan, so he knew about this in detail. The 5-clawed divine dragon was one level higher than the 4-clawed divine dragon. Is it because of the Lord of the Four Supremes? Zhou Donghuang's heart thumped. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. Apart from this, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. However, this is also a good thing. In the Dharma stage, the 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power will not only be invincible against Dharma adepts of the same level, but even against Dharma adepts of a higher level. As long as their Dharma power is not particularly strong, it will most likely be able to defeat them. The 4-clawed divine dragon Dharma power was enough to defeat 99% of Dharma adepts of the same level. What more, the even stronger 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power. The green dragon Dharma power already has the shape of a 5-clawed divine dragon. The other 3 Dharma powers will not be simple either. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang became unusually excited. His attention shifted to another golden essence. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared was that of a bird. This should be the vermilion bird Dharma power. This is the white tiger Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the third golden essence was that of a walking beast. Upon closer inspection, there were many traces of the king of beasts, a tiger. The black tortoise Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the fourth golden essence was that of a tortoise, a large one at that. Just as Zhou Donghuang's attention was drawn to the shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the 4 golden essences in his dantian, Mengxi rushed back to the Autumn Valley angrily. When I reach the mid-Dharma stage, I will definitely teach that Lianqin a good lesson. How dare he protect Pan Yilin? He is obviously going against me. This time, Mengxi had gone to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilin, but before she could do anything, Lianqin had interfered and threatened to protect Pan Yilin. In a fit of anger, she had fought Lianqin. They were evenly matched and neither of them could do anything to the other. In such a situation, she could only return in low spirits. Although she was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, Lianqin's background was not bad either. He was the adopted son and disciple of the Summer Valley head, so he was not afraid of her. However, when Mengxi returned angrily, her face was full of worry. That Lianqin is about to reach the mid-Dharma stage. Furthermore, his martial arts talent is higher than mine. When she reached the mid-Dharma stage, Lianqin would most likely also break through. When that time came, she would not be able to do anything to him. Because of this, she was very dissatisfied. What? Did you not help Donghuang? Jin noticed Mengxi as soon as she returned and immediately went to greet her. When he saw the dissatisfaction on her face, it was not difficult to guess that she had not been able to get what she wanted. It seemed that someone had interfered to protect the Summer Valley disciple who had sold the fake goods to Donghuang. That Lianqin interfered. Mengxi said in a low voice. Lianqin. Jin was stunned and his gaze became a little strange. From what I know, that Liankan fellow seems to be interested in you. He actually stopped you? Interested in me? He Mingxi was stunned at first, but she quickly regained her composure. With a look of disgust, she said, even if all the men in the world died and he was the only one left, I would not choose him. Did he really think that I did not know that he was toying with the female outer sect disciples and then abandoning them? As she said this, there was only disgust left in her eyes. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. He Jin shook his head and changed the topic. That Zhou Donghuang, where did you find him? What's wrong? Mingxi was confused. She did not know why her father would suddenly ask this. He Jin told her what he had discovered an hour ago, and for a moment, Mingxi was stunned. When he was practicing, the spirit energy gathered at a crazy rate. Furthermore, the speed and intensity of the spirit energy gathering was even greater than when the sect leader was practicing in seclusion. Mingxi was also shocked. He is not simple. I suspect that either his background is not simple, or he had an extraordinary encounter. He Jin said with a serious expression. He does not have any background. Thinking of the planet called Ziyun that she had been to not long ago, Mingxi shook her head. He must have had an extraordinary encounter. Does not have any background? Jin looked at Mingxi. Where is he from? Ziyun, Mingxi said. Mingxi said, that planet only has a few small spirit stone veins. Moreover, there isn't even an interstellar transportation array in the star domain where that planet is located. I left not long ago to go to the planet of Ziyun to help him bring some things to his family. Mingxi did not intend to tell her father that Zhou Donghuang had come looking for her. She only said that Zhou Donghuang had wandered to the Honglio galaxy and ended up on Ziyun. She had found him and brought him back to the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley. In the Autumn Valley, only Huang Long knew that when Zhou Donghuang had first arrived, she did not know him. Therefore she had specially gone to Huang Long to inform him. Someone who came from a galaxy that does not even have a galaxy teleporter? He Jin's eyes narrowed slightly and he said with a serious expression, it seems that he has indeed had an extraordinary encounter. Otherwise, with his background, he would not have been able to get to where he is today. 23 years old, reaching the Golden Essence stage. Even in some of the galaxies with galaxy teleporters, it is rare for someone like that to appear. Jin voiced out his own guess. Mingxi did not reply. She thought of what she had learned after going to Ziyun and felt that Zhou Donghuang must have had an extraordinary encounter. She even had a vague guess. Zhou Donghuang's extraordinary encounter could have been his dream. A dream that allowed him to see the future and allow him to have the upper hand at any time. This, in itself, was an extraordinary encounter. Father, if little brother has an extraordinary encounter, then so be it. You won't have any designs on him, will you? Mingxi looked at Jin cautiously. What kind of person do you think your father is? Jin glared at Mingxi. Am I that kind of person in your eyes? Father, if he is just an outsider, not a disciple of the Autumn Valley or the Lightning Sword sect, and not someone I brought back, are you sure you won't have any designs on him? Are you sure you won't have designs on him? Mingxi asked with a chuckle. Alright, hurry up and go back to training. If you don't work hard, that Summer Valley's Liankan might even reach the mid-Dharma stage before you. Jin glared at Mingxi again. Also, when your little brother comes out of seclusion, remember to remind him that a man's heart is full of evil. It's better to keep a low profile if possible. By the time Mingxi relayed Jin's message to Zhou Donghuang, it was already half a month later. Third senior sister, that was not an extraordinary encounter. It was because of a type of core drug. Zhou Donghuang looked at Mingxi and smiled. I intend to give one of those core drugs to Donghuang as well. After Donghuang consumes the core drug and starts training, you can ask the valley head to come and take a look. But, before that, third senior sister, come with me to the Summer Valley. Just now Zhou Donghuang had seen that Mingxi was frowning, and it was obvious that she was not in a good mood. After asking, he found out that the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Kan, was causing trouble. Why are you going to the Summer Valley? Mingxi was stunned. Of course, to meet that Lian Kan. Zhou Donghuang rose into the air, the inner yuan around him withdrawn. Mingxi was stunned. Little brother, you've broken through? Obviously, Mingxi could tell that Zhou Donghuang had already reached the Dharma stage. I just broke through a few days ago. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. I've been consolidating my training these few days. Otherwise, I would have come out of seclusion long ago. Chapter 239. How did he break through so quickly? Mingxi was stunned. A 24-year-old Dharma adept? What kind of miraculous encounter had this little brother of hers had? That's not considered fast. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. His progress was much slower than the disciples of the supreme sects and the top families in the top galaxies. There were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20, and there were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20. Furthermore, this is all because of the core drug that I mentioned just now. Zhou Donghuang continued, that elixir is a type of ancient elixir. Its potency is unimaginable. Third senior sister, how long has Donghuang attained the ultimate primal core stage? Zhou Donghuang asked. Donghuang was not much older than him. Almost 2 years. He Mingxi paused for a moment before replying. Zhou Donghuang nodded. When I return from the Summer Valley, I will give Donghuang an ancient core drug. As long as he has enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation, he will definitely attain the Dharma stage within a month. Zhou Donghuang's tone was full of confidence, a confidence that no one could doubt. Zhou Donghuang had already tested the potency of the ancient core drug, so he was naturally full of confidence. Zhou Donghuang's confidence shocked He Mingxi. What kind of core drug is that? How can it allow Donghuang to attain the Dharma stage within a month? Core drug. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. It is a core drug that allows golden essence adepts to attain Dharma in a short period of time. However, it is only useful for golden essence adepts. As long as there are enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation to assist in training, even a golden essence adept who has just entered the ultimate primal core stage will be able to enter the Dharma stage in an extremely short period of time after consuming the developing essence elixir. At this point, Zhou Donghuang paused and looked at He Mingxi before continuing, speaking of which, I used the ancient core drug formula that I obtained from the dream to produce this core drug. The dream. Hearing Zhou Donghuang mention the dream again, He Mingxi gasped inwardly. Now, she was even more convinced of everything this little junior brother had said. It was precisely because of this that she couldn't help but feel slightly fortunate. Because the early appearance of this little junior brother would allow her to have the opportunity to change her and her father's fate. Otherwise, her father would die and she would have to leave the Tailao planet and the Honglio galaxy. At that moment, He Mingxi's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang became extremely gentle. Little brother, I know that you have just entered the Dharma stage and are full of confidence. Back then, when I had just entered the Dharma stage, I was the same. However, that Lian Can of the Summer Valley had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago. Now he is not far from the mid-Dharma stage. His Dharma power has been tempered for a few years, so it's far stronger than yours. From her words, it was clear that He Mingxi did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lian Can. Although we can definitely defeat him if we join forces, there will definitely be people from the Summer Valley who will step forward to help him. If it was just He Mingxi and Lian Can fighting, no one in the Summer Valley would help Lian Can. After all, the two of them had similar levels of cultivation. However, once He Mingxi and Zhou Donghuang joined forces to deal with Lian Can, the people of the Summer Valley would definitely not stand idly by. Join forces? Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, then he could not help but shake his head and smile. Third sister, there is no need for that. Zhou Donghuang's confident smile also influenced He Mingxi to a certain extent. Could it be that this little brother is really confident? Lian Can was the adopted son of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. He was also a personal disciple, so he usually stayed at Lian Kuan's residence. As the head of the Summer Valley, although Lian Kuan's residence was not considered luxurious, it was still very spacious. There were also many rooms inside, enough for many people to stay in. Lian Can, my little brother would like to spar with you. After He Mingxi brought Zhou Donghuang to the residence of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, she spoke loudly, her voice spreading far and wide. In an instant, many disciples of the Summer Valley were attracted over. It's He Mingxi from the Autumn Valley. This He Mingxi came looking for trouble with Pan Yilan half a month ago. It was Lian Can who stopped her. After that, Lian Can fought with her and they were evenly matched. After half a month, why is she here again? And she even said that her little brother wants to spar with Lian Can? The young man in white beside her is the little brother that she mentioned? To the majority of the people of the Summer Valley, Zhou Donghuang was an unfamiliar face. Pan Yilan had come over to join in the fun and recognized Zhou Donghuang immediately. When he recognized him, his face was full of surprise. Isn't that Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley? He has broken through? In Pan Yilan's memory, this Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept about a month ago. In just a month he had broken through to the Dharma stage? Zhou Donghuang? He He's the Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley who indirectly sold many fake goods to the Summer Valley. He's so young? Not only is he young but he's also a Dharma adept. Pan Yilin's words shocked many of the surrounding Summer Valley disciples. Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to come to the Summer Valley. Very quickly Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei, the two Summer Valley disciples who had bought fake goods from Zhou Donghuang, also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. Soon after, many elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been cheated by Zhou Donghuang also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. From what He Mingshi said, this Zhou Donghuang is here to challenge Lian Can. I heard from Pan Yilin that Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept a month ago, which means that he has only entered the Dharma stage this month. He has not even entered the Dharma stage for a month, and he actually dares to challenge Lian Can? He's asking to be humiliated. The crowd of Summer Valley disciples did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lian Can. After all, Lian Can had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago and was not far from the early Dharma stage now. In these few years, Lian Can had already refined his Dharma to the point where it was almost flawless, and he was also very proficient in using it. Is that girl Mengshi? Although the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, was not outside, he could still tell who the person was from the voice. The little brother she mentioned must be Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to challenge you? Looks like he has some confidence. Lian Kuan looked at Lian Can and asked, "Are you confident? If you are not confident, you don't have to accept this challenge. If you are confident, it's best to accept the challenge. After all, he has indirectly sold many fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley, including some elders. If you can defeat him, you will win the favor of those elders. This is a good thing for you to take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future," Lian Kuan said. From what Lian Kuan had said, it was obvious that he intended to pass on his position as Summer Valley head to his godson and personal disciple, Lian Can. According to the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, as the previous Summer Valley head, he had the right to choose and recommend someone. In fact, as long as Lian can pass the Lightning Sword sect's test for him as the successor of the Summer Valley head after Lian Kuan's recommendation, he would be able to successfully take over the Summer Valley. Master, from your tone you think that I might not be a match for Zhou Donghuang? Lian Can smiled and asked, "Master, don't you know that he was only a golden essence adept a month ago?" "I've heard about this." Lian Kuan nodded. "But because of this, things are a little strange. A person who has just entered the Dharma stage dares to challenge you. What gives him the right? Could it be that he came here to humiliate himself? A person who was able to create so many fake goods and even deceive the elders of the Summer Valley, would he be someone who would seek his own humiliation?" Lian Kuan's eyes flashed with caution. "Master, you are too cautious." Lian Can shook his head and said with a look of disdain, "If I, Lian Can, cannot even deal with a young boy who has just entered the Dharma stage, how can I take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future? Master, I will go and meet him." Lian Can bade farewell to Lian Kuan and walked out. "Don't be careless. Be prepared to use your ultimate Dharma spirit weapon at any time." When Lian Can was about to leave, Lian Kuan, who was behind him, reminded him in a timely manner. "Yes." Lian Can responded somewhat perfunctorily. In his eyes, a young boy who had just entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago was not worth using unless the other party had a Dharma spirit weapon first. Forget it. If he loses, it will be a lesson to let him know that there are always people better than you out there. Although Lian Kuan had never seen Zhou Donghuang before, his understanding of Zhou Donghuang was still based on Zhou Donghuang's brilliant forgery skills. But just this alone made him not dare to underestimate Zhou Donghuang. Today Zhou Donghuang had taken the initiative to challenge his disciple, Lian Can. This action showed that Zhou Donghuang had absolute confidence in this battle. "Lian Can." After Lian Can left, Lian Kuan called out loudly, his voice like a clap of thunder. In a duel between fellow disciples, don't overdo it. It's the Valley Head's voice. Looks like the Valley Head is worried that Lian Can will go too far and cripple Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang took the initiative to challenge Lian Can. As long as Lian Can does not kill him, even if he cripples him, the sect will not pursue the matter. Outside, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who were watching felt that the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, had the intention to protect Zhou Donghuang. "Yes, master." Although Lian Can was somewhat unwilling, he did not dare to go against his master's words, so he responded respectfully. Lian Can, seeing Lian Can's unwillingness, Zhou Donghuang narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "If you are unwilling to stop, then let's set this duel as long as no one dies. Everything else is up to you." How about that? As soon as he said this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. Just as the crowd of Summer Valley disciples felt that Zhou Donghuang did not know what was good for him and Lian Qin was about to agree, a dark expression appeared on his face. The voice of the Summer Valley head, Lian Qin, rang out once again. Zhou Donghuang, your Autumn Valley head and I are fellow disciples of the same master. There are some things that we should not do to each other. Chapter 240. The group of people from the Summer Valley, upon hearing Lian Qin's words, only thought. At this moment, Lian Qin had suggested this sparring session not only because he wanted to help Zhou Donghuang, but also because he wanted to remind Zhou Donghuang that if he did not embarrass him today, Zhou Donghuang would not harm the Summer Valley with fake goods in the future. Since Valley Master has personally spoken, I will give you face. In today's spar with your disciple, I will not go overboard. I will just defeat him. Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a playful smile. If there was anyone who understood Lian Qin's words, it was definitely Zhou Donghuang himself. As for the other person, it was Lian Qin. Does Master have so little confidence in me? Lian Qin's expression was extremely ugly. As for the group of people from the Summer Valley, after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, they all looked at him with disdain and sarcasm, thinking that he was boasting shamelessly. Make your move. Zhou Donghuang stepped forward and faced Lian Qin. He said calmly, I still have things to do. The sooner I defeat you, the sooner I can go back. Arrogant. Lian Qin's eyes flashed coldly, and his expression darkened. You, Zhou Donghuang, are just an adept who entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago, and you dare to dream of defeating me? What a joke. Today I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. As soon as he finished speaking, the inner yuan in Lian Qin's body surged out. In an instant, the Dharma power of an early Dharma adept appeared and floated above his head with a domineering aura. It was the giant palm Dharma that had pressed the Zhuang to the ground in the past. You broke through less than a month ago, so you probably did not even have time to train your Dharma, right? Today I will let you know the difference between your Dharma and my Dharma. Lian Qin looked at Zhou Donghuang and laughed coldly. Now show me your Dharma. As you wish. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lian Qin, and the inner yuan in his body vibrated. One of the four beast-shaped Dharma powers in his elixir field suddenly emitted waves of powerful inner yuan that flowed through Zhou Donghuang's body and exited his body. Ever since he had entered the Dharma stage, the four golden essences in Zhou Donghuang's elixir field had completely merged with his Dharma power. To be precise, it was because the golden elixir had become a part of the Dharma power, causing the Dharma power to be condensed and almost materialized. In the past, Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan came from the primal core. Now his spiritual ether came from his Dharma power. Of course, most people only had one Dharma power in their dantian. Because he had cultivated the Lord of the Four Supremes, he had four Dharma powers in his body, and they were four completely different Dharma powers. One was a dragon, one was a tiger, one was a bird, and one was a turtle. They were the Dharma powers of the four divine beasts. However, the four Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body did not seem to have fully developed. The azure dragon resembled a snake, the white tiger resembled a cat, the vermilion bird resembled a bird, and the black tortoise resembled a little turtle. Roar. However, although the white tiger Dharma power in Zhou Donghuang's body was a little shabby and looked like a kitten, when it appeared, the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power looked majestic. When it roared, it had the aura of the king of all beasts. Within 10 moves I will defeat you. Seeing Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power appear, Lian Qin, who had long been impatient, spoke in a low voice. His entire body seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning as he charged towards Zhou Donghuang. Along with him, his 10-foot-tall materialized Dharma form also flew out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The giant Dharma power swept through the air, and because it was moving so quickly, the air around it emitted a sharp, piercing sound. This sound was also ear-piercing, as if it had come from the depths of hell, and it seemed to be able to pierce through one's eardrums. As Lian Qin charged towards Zhou Donghuang, his gaze was cold. 10 moves was his conservative estimate. He felt that within 5 moves at most he would be able to defeat Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang stood there, and the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power that had risen from his body had already crouched down. Its eyes were closed from time to time, and it yawned lazily, as if it was about to fall asleep at any moment. This Zhou Donghuang, could it be that he has been scared silly? This should be his first battle after attaining the Dharma stage. It's normal for him to be scared silly. Lian Qin and his giant Dharma power approached Zhou Donghuang in the blink of an eye. They were not far from Zhou Donghuang, but Zhou Donghuang still did not move an inch. Behind them, the crowd of Summer Valley disciples was in an uproar. At this moment, even He Mingxi, who was standing at the side, could not help but change her expression. Little brother. Zhou Donghuang, it seems that I have overestimated you. One move, just one move, and I will be able to defeat you. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang still did not move even after he had gathered his strength, Lian Ken was ecstatic. His eyes shone with excitement and he raised his hand suddenly. Instantly, his giant Dharma power seemed to sense something, and it followed his movement and slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. Little brother. He Mingxi's expression changed again, and she subconsciously let out a cry of surprise. Boom. Kaboom. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lian Can's giant Dharma power was like a small mountain as it slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. Chapter 241. What? As soon as Lian Can finished speaking, Lian Kuan's expression changed drastically, and he could no longer maintain his previous calm. He was able to defeat you in one blow even when you had the upper hand? Are you sure he was just an early Dharma adept? Are you sure he was just a golden essence adept a month ago? Lian Kuan stared at Lian Can as he asked in a low voice. A month ago I saw him descending from the sky, surrounded by golden inner yuan, and today his Dharma power is only 10 feet tall. Lian Can said. A Dharma power that was 10 feet tall was the hallmark of an early Dharma adept. How is that possible? Lian Kuan's face was full of disbelief. He was also an early Dharma adept like you, and he had just reached the Dharma stage not long ago. How could he have defeated you in one blow under such circumstances? Master. Lian Can smiled bitterly. I'm not too sure why exactly, but the problem must have been with the Dharma power that he had formed. His giant tiger Dharma power attacked my giant palm Dharma power at the last moment, and it was difficult for him to use his full strength. But even so, my giant palm Dharma power was like a piece of paper in front of his giant tiger Dharma power, and it was easily defeated. At this point, a look of fear flashed across Lian Can's eyes. I've sparred with a mid-Dharma stage senior in the valley before. Even that senior's 3-foot Dharma power exerted pressure on my 10-foot Dharma power might not even be able to compare to his 10-foot giant tiger Dharma power. The Dharma power of a mid-Dharma adept was 3 feet tall, and its power was so strong that it could crush the 10-foot Dharma power of an early Dharma adept. But now, Lian Can said, even the 3-foot Dharma power of a mid-Dharma disciple of the Summer Valley might not be able to compare to the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple. His Dharma power seems to have been trained to a terrifying extreme. Although the inner yuan contained within it is not stronger than my inner yuan, it is flawless and airtight. On the other hand, my Dharma idol is full of loopholes in front of his Dharma idol, and his Dharma idol can make use of all the flaws in my Dharma idol. My Dharma power originally didn't have many flaws. However, in the brief confrontation with the giant tiger Dharma power, it was at a disadvantage time and time again. There were so many flaws that it directly defeated me. I think, even the Dharma power of an ultimate Dharma adept might not be as well trained as his. At this point, Lian Can's eyes were filled with a complicated look. I wonder how he managed to train his Dharma power. It hasn't even been a month since he entered the Dharma stage, yet he managed to train his Dharma power to such an incredible level. Heaven-defying. In Lian Can's eyes, the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang was indeed heaven-defying. The true origin contained in the unassailable 10 feet Dharma idol was not as strong as that of a 10 feet Dharma idol of the same level, but it was so strong that it suppressed most 30 feet Dharma idols. It had to be known that the true essence intensity of a 30 zhang Dharma idol was more than twice as strong as a 10 zhang Dharma idol. A 10 zhang Dharma power without any flaws? Lian Kuan's eyes narrowed. Even an ultimate Dharma adept would not dare to say that his Dharma is flawless. Although the Dharma of an ultimate Dharma adept has gone through a series of training, and there are very few flaws, there are still some. Usually, when an ultimate Dharma adept attacks, the most they can do is hide their flaws perfectly. Lian Kuan obviously did not believe Lian Can's words. He did not think that Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was flawless. However, the strength of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power and the degree of training it was no less than that of an ultimate Dharma adept was something that Lian Kuan believed. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang would not have been able to defeat his godson, Lian Can, so easily. Lian Can was not just an idiot, but he was also one of the best of the few disciples under Lian Kuan. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. That girl from junior brother He's family? Where did she find such a monster? From Lian Kuan's point of view, Such a monster should not have appeared in the Lightning Sword sect, or even in the Hunglio galaxy. Even the two transcendental forces of the Hunglio galaxy could not have produced such a monster. After returning to the Autumn Valley with He Mingxi, Zhou Donghuang brought her directly to find Donghuang and gave him a developing essence. Donghuang, after you take this developing essence, you will definitely enter the Dharma stage within a month. After saying this, Zhou Donghuang helped Donghuang set up an energy gathering spell. To save time, he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. 20,000 spirit stones were spread throughout every corner of Donghuang's room. The reason why he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones at once to set up the energy gathering spell was because he did not want to set up another one for Donghuang in the future. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones to set up an energy gathering spell should be enough. It should be enough for Donghuang to enter the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. For him to enter the early Dharma stage from the ultimate primal core stage, 4 golden essence adepts had taken half a month, and he had spent a total of 50,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In his opinion, even if he considered that he was more talented than Donghuang, 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough for Donghuang to enter the early Dharma stage within a month. After all, Donghuang was no longer training in the techniques of the past, but the top techniques of the universe, the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen. Little brother, where did you get so many spirit stones? While Donghuang was training behind closed doors, He Mingxi, who was in the courtyard, looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. That's 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In your hometown, the Ziyun planet, the 5 inferior quality spirit stone mines add up to only about 10,000 inferior quality spirit stones a year. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones was equivalent to 200,000 inferior quality spirit stones. The entire spirit stone mine of the Ziyun planet would take 20 years to mine, and this was under the assumption that not a single spirit stone was used in 20 years. Because of this, He Mingxi found it hard to imagine where Zhou Donghuang had gotten so many spirit stones. Third sister, in the dream that involved a period of time in the future, there was a mention of the final resting place of some ultimate Dharma adepts. In the dream, those places were all taken by others and I could only look on in envy. And now, through the memories of the future in the dream, I've taken the first step to take the things that those ultimate Dharma adepts left behind in their final resting places. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang knew his third sister very well, and he knew that if he did not explain clearly where the spirit stones had come from, she would definitely feel uneasy. And now his response to He Mingxi was perfect and flawless. This works. He Mingxi was dumbfounded, and after a while she felt that this was the only explanation. Otherwise, based on her little brother's ability, after leaving the remote galaxy where the Ziyun planet was located, it would have been impossible for him to obtain so many spirit stones in such a short period of time. Suddenly, He Mingxi seemed to have sensed something and her eyes narrowed. In the next moment she looked at the door to Donghuang's room. She could vaguely see a spirit weapon that had turned into a mist and was entering Donghuang's room through the gap in the door. At the same time she could clearly feel the thick spirit energy from all directions sweeping towards her, with Donghuang's room as the center. The abnormality in Donghuang's room attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. In a moment, He Jin landed beside Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi. Looking at Donghuang's room, his expression changed slightly. Spirit energy turning into mist? What's going on? He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang suspiciously. In his opinion, this could not have been done by his daughter, and he knew very well what his daughter was capable of. Little brother gave Donghuang an ancient core drug called the Developing Essence, and then used 20,000 mid-level spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation for him. Chapter 242. Third senior sister, you underestimate Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. What? From what you're saying, Donghuang has just broken through and is already stronger than me? Little junior brother, Donghuang is not you. He Mingxi clearly did not believe him. Donghuang, spar with third senior sister. Zhou Donghuang smiled as he looked at Donghuang. Donghuang hurriedly shook his head. No, I can't. I can't fight with senior sister. Donghuang is just a spar. Zhou Donghuang's calmness made He Mingxi a little uneasy. She looked at Donghuang and said, since little junior brother is so confident in you, I want to see how strong you are now. If you can really defeat senior sister will be happy for you. He Mingxi looked at Donghuang, her gaze full of motherly love. He Mingxi's words made Donghuang's eyes light up. He smiled and shook his head. Senior sister, I am definitely not your match. Whoosh. Yimingshi rose into the air and stood in the air looking down at Donghuang. Donghuang, come. Go. Seeing Donghuang look over, Zhou Donghuang smiled. Don't hold back or third senior sister will not be happy. Yes. Donghuang, if you dare to hold back when sparring with me, I will be very unhappy. Yimingshi agreed. She also wanted to see where Zhou Donghuang's confidence in Donghuang came from. He Jin didn't say a word from beginning to end. He just quietly watched as Donghuang rose into the air and faced his daughter Yimingshi. From what he saw, Donghuang, who had just broken through to the Dharma stage, was definitely not a match for his daughter. However, Zhou Donghuang's confidence made him waver. Although he had not interacted with Zhou Donghuang before, this young fellow had given him too many surprises. First, he had tricked the people of the Summer Valley with a fake, and then he had defeated Lien Kan, the proud disciple of the Summer Valley head, just a few days after breaking through to the Dharma stage. Now, he also knew that Zhou Donghuang could produce an ancient core medicine known as the Developing Essence, which had helped Donghuang enter the Dharma stage in a short month. Defeating Lien Kan when he had just entered the Dharma stage and helping Donghuang enter the Dharma stage were two of the most shocking things he had ever done. Donghuang has switched to cultivating the Fiery Thunder training regimen. If I'm not mistaken, he will condense the Fiery Thunder Dharma form. Just as Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat, he saw Donghuang rise into the air to face him. Yimingshi, who had been waiting for a chance, began to gather her inner yuan. In the blink of an eye, a 3-meter-tall Dharma idol extended from her body. The Dharma idol was a 3-meter-long giant sword. After it condensed, it emitted bursts of fierce and sharp aura. The true origin sword aura on it flickered like a python hissing, accumulating power and waiting to be unleashed. Donghuang, give it your all. Let me see how strong you are now that you've reached the Dharma stage. In the blink of an eye, Yimingshi's giant sword Dharma appeared beneath her feet. It carried her through the air, circling around Donghuang. Yes, senior sister. At the same time, Donghuang's Dharma power appeared at the same time. It was a ball of scorching flames. Within the flames there were white bolts of lightning. From time to time, there would be a soft sound of thunder. It was especially ear-piercing compared to the sound of the burning flames. What kind of Dharma is this? Yimingshi was stunned. Based on her understanding of Donghuang's techniques, after he entered the Dharma stage, he should be able to condense a blade Dharma. However, the Dharma idol that Donghuang was displaying now surprised her greatly. At this moment, not only Yimingshi but even He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, was stunned. He knew the techniques that Donghuang practiced. Unless he switched to another technique, he would definitely be able to condense a blade Dharma. Donghuang, could it be that he switched to another technique? He Jin subconsciously looked at the young man in white who was standing not far away. He saw that the young man's face was calm, and he did not seem surprised by Donghuang's Dharma. It was as if he had already known that Donghuang's Dharma would be the Fiery Thunder Dharma. Donghuang, I'm going to attack. Although she was surprised by the Dharma idol that Donghuang had condensed, Yimingshi did not think too much about it. She called out to Donghuang, then activated the giant sword Dharma beneath her feet and flew towards Donghuang, attacking him with the sword. Whoosh! The giant sword Dharma sliced through the air, and an ear-piercing sound rang out. The air currents in the air were completely split apart by the giant sword Dharma. Waves of bone-chilling wind howled out from both sides of the giant sword Dharma, sweeping towards Zhou Donghuang and He Jin, who were watching the battle from below. The wind caused their robes to flutter loudly. Faced with the giant sword Dharma, Donghuang's eyes flashed with a look of panic. After all, this was his first time fighting against a Dharma adept. Furthermore, this was a Dharma adept who had condensed a giant sword Dharma, a Dharma adept that specialized in killing. Once he attacked, the wind howled, and the sword seemed to be able to destroy everything. Donghuang, don't forget that you are also a Dharma adept now. Zhou Donghuang saw the panic in Donghuang's eyes and he reminded him. He could understand what Donghuang was feeling now. Years ago, when he had just entered the Dharma stage, the first time he had fought against another Dharma adept, he had been like this. Just as he heard Zhou Donghuang's reminder, Donghuang's face hardened. His body was like a python surrounded by lightning, and in an instant it exploded. Immediately, his entire body brought with it the thunder and fire Dharma, and it met Yimingshi's lightning-fast sword that sliced through the air. Just as Donghuang sprinted forward, his eyes stared directly at the sword that was flying towards him. He instinctively wanted to avoid it, but his intuition told him that he could easily block this sword. All the muscles in his body tensed up and he was ready to attack. This feeling also made him feel like he was being controlled by a ghost. For some reason, he struck out with both his palms to meet the giant sword Dharma that was coming at him. At first, seeing this, He Mingxi's expression changed slightly, and she withdrew her strength. However, she realized that Donghuang's hands were wide open, and his hands were surrounded by lightning and fire. His hands were able to clamp down on her giant sword Dharma power. Her giant sword Dharma power could not advance any further. Moreover, she tried to exert more force, but the giant sword Dharma power did not budge. It was only when she used all her strength that she realized that the giant sword Dharma was trembling slightly. Even so, Donghuang was still able to completely bind the giant sword Dharma. No matter how hard she struggled, the giant sword Dharma could not escape from Donghuang's hands. How is this possible? This made He Mingxi feel extremely incredulous. Donghuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, so how could he so easily block her sword Dharma? Furthermore, now that Donghuang's hands were like iron pincers, her sword Dharma could not move at all. Senior sister, continue to use more strength. Donghuang looked at He Mingxi in confusion, thinking that she was going easy on him. He smiled and said, Senior sister, you don't have to hold back. Donghuang can take it. Use more strength? If she did not know that Donghuang would not say such things on purpose, He Mingxi would have suspected that he was purposely teasing her. Donghuang, I've already used all my strength. He Mingxi smiled bitterly. Huh. Donghuang was stunned and his jaw dropped. Senior sister, you've already used all your strength? In terms of brute force, I'm not as good as you. Now let go, He Mingxi said gently. I'll try to attack you. Slow reactions are also your weakness. This is a good opportunity for me to test your reaction speed now that you've entered the Dharma stage. All right. Donghuang nodded like a woodpecker and immediately let go of He Mingxi's giant sword Dharma, allowing it to move again. Although He Mingxi could also give up on the giant sword Dharma, if she did that, the inner yuan in her dantian would be greatly depleted. The next time she formed her Dharma, her strength would be far weaker than it was now, and she would not be a match for Donghuang. Donghuang's reaction speed was always slow, and this was also a weakness of his. Chapter 243. What a perfect Dharma! While He Mingxi could not do anything to Donghuang, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, looked at the lightning flames that covered Donghuang's body, and his eyes lit up. Even among ultimate Dharma adepts, he had never seen such a perfect Dharma power. What technique did Donghuang switch to? He Jin knew very well that, based on Donghuang's foundation, to form such a perfect Dharma, the technique he switched to would have to be a very advanced one. This was because the more profound a cultivation method was, the smaller the flaws and the more perfect the Dharma idol would be. This was the iron law of the boundless universe's cultivation world. Previously he had guessed that Donghuang had switched to another technique. Now, seeing how perfect Donghuang's Dharma was, he confirmed his guess. Donghuang's technique was more advanced than any of the lightning sword sect's techniques. The lightning sword sect's techniques, even the lightning sword technique, could not produce such a perfect Dharma. In fact, in the history of the lightning sword sect, there might not even have been a single practitioner of the lightning sword technique who had managed to train his Dharma power to the point where it was as perfect as Donghuang's Dharma power when he was at the ultimate Dharma stage. Even if there were, such people were few and far between. At least He Jin had never seen one. Donghuang, what kind of Dharma is this? He Mingxi was shocked to see that she had attacked consecutively, intending to overwhelm Donghuang. However, Donghuang's Dharma form was still able to easily block her attacks. She was not surprised that a Dharma would protect its owner. What surprised her was that under normal circumstances, the power of a Dharma protecting its owner was not as strong as a Dharma adept's Dharma. However, Donghuang's Dharma, even though he was not the one controlling it, was still able to easily block all of her attacks. This made her both depressed and aggrieved. She had attacked him so hard, but by the time he reacted, his Dharma had blocked all of my attacks? Senior sister, I don't know either. Donghuang shook his head. You don't know either? He Mingxi stared at him in disbelief. That's your Dharma, how can you not know? Donghuang seemed to have something he could not say, and as he hesitated, he looked pleadingly at Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, both He Mingxi and He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang. I've imparted a new technique to Donghuang. To him, third senior sister He Mingxi was not an outsider, and as her father He Jin was not an outsider either. As expected. He Jin's heart skipped a beat. Although he had previously felt that his guess was definitely correct, with Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, it gave him a completely different feeling. A new cultivation method? He Mingxi's eyes lit up, and she subconsciously looked at Zhou Donghuang with a look of desire in her eyes. However, she seemed to realize that she was being rude and looked away awkwardly. Donghuang chuckled. Senior sister, junior brother said that he has a more suitable technique for you. Donghuang's words caused He Mingxi's darkened eyes to light up again. Third senior sister, I wrote down this technique for you and the Valley Chief. It can be practiced all the way to the ultimate divine transformation stage. However, it's best not to let anyone else know about this technique. Otherwise you will be in deep trouble. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, his expression turned serious. He would naturally not be stingy with his third senior sister He Mingxi and her father He Jin. However, he had to warn them. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang took out a piece of paper from his space ring and handed it to He Mingxi. This technique is called the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, and it is a very advanced swordsmanship technique. Once you completely switch to this technique, Donghuang will not be your match in a short period of time. This is because his reaction time is his weakness. However, in the future, as Donghuang's cultivation base increases, the technique he cultivates will subtly strengthen his weaknesses until they completely disappear. When that time comes, even if you're at the same cultivation base, you'll at most be able to fight him to a draw. Of course, if you fight him to the death, you will have a higher chance of winning. These two cultivation techniques are of the same level. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique focuses on killing, while the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen that Donghuang cultivates is an offensive and defensive technique. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique that I am giving you now is not complete. When you reach the ultimate divine transformation stage, I will give you the rest of the technique. Zhou Donghuang said. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique? It's of the same level as Donghuang's technique? After hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, both He Mingxi and He Jin's breathing quickened in that instant. Remember what I said, Zhou Donghuang reminded them. Whether it is the Thousand-Star Sword Technique that was given to you or the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen that was given to Donghuang, they are both very advanced techniques. Once they are exposed, there will be no place for you in the Honglio Galaxy. Understood. He Mingxi nodded seriously. Although she had not known Zhou Donghuang for long, she had never seen him so serious before. It was not difficult for her to understand the gravity of the situation. As for He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, he had already scanned the surroundings to see if anyone was hiding nearby and eavesdropping. After confirming that there was no one, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Little brother. Just then, He Mingxi seemed to suddenly remember something and looked at Zhou Donghuang. Why don't we tell my father about this? Now, I don't think he will suspect that what you said is false. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique was definitely a technique that far surpassed any other in the Honglio Galaxy. Now, Zhou Donghuang had even passed this technique on to her father. Even if she told her father about what Zhou Donghuang had told her before, her father would definitely believe her. Zhou Donghuang nodded and said with a serious expression, but we cannot let anyone else know. Of course. He Mingxi also nodded seriously. This matter concerned her father's life and death, so she naturally could not do anything rash. What is it? At this time He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang and his daughter with a puzzled expression, his eyes filled with confusion. Valley Master, you should go back with third senior sister and listen to her in detail. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang trusted He Mingxi unconditionally because he knew what kind of person He Mingxi was from his previous life. Even if he didn't have that so-called dream of the future, she would definitely not betray him if he gave her the Thousand-Star Sword Technique and gave her a fortuitous encounter. After all, she was the kind of person who was obsessed with the principle of, a drop of kindness should be repaid with a spring of gratitude. As for He Mingxi's father, He Jin, although he had not interacted with him in his previous life, He Mingxi had mentioned him more than once. He Mingxi's personality was basically like her father's. Furthermore, according to He Mingxi in his previous life, not only had Donghuang died for her, but her father, He Jin, had also given up a chance at survival for her. He had not hesitated to sacrifice his own life for his only daughter. Having lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, Zhou Donghuang was not stupid. Naturally, he would not easily put himself in danger. He Mingxi and He Jin were both trustworthy people. Donghuang. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang looked at Donghuang and reminded him, from today onwards, don't easily show off your abilities in front of others. If you want to show off your abilities in front of others, you have to wait until you reach the ultimate Dharma stage. Before that, keep a low profile. What? Donghuang was puzzled. At the same time, his eyes were filled with confusion and disappointment. He had just been thinking that he would often find people to spar with in the future and let them know that he, Donghuang, could easily defeat those of the same level of practice as him, and that he was not the trash that they said he was. If you don't want third sister and me to die, you better do as I say. Zhou Donghuang could not be bothered to explain to Donghuang. Although he could explain with Donghuang's slow brain, it would definitely take him a long time to explain. In his heart he knew very well. Today, Donghuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, and he had already displayed such abilities with his fire and thunder Dharma power. His third sister He Mingxi was still alright, but the Autumn Valley head He Jin must have long guessed that Donghuang had switched to training in an extremely powerful technique. Otherwise, Donghuang would not have been able to have such an incredible transformation. After all, He Jin was very clear about Donghuang's past, and so were many people in the Lightning Sword sect. But Zhou Donghuang was different. Although he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and displayed abilities that could easily defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, no one would have thought that he had trained in a powerful technique. Many people would have thought that he had been stuck at the ultimate primal core stage for a long time, and that when his Dharma power was still in its embryonic stage, he had already begun to train it. After all, no one knew about his past. 10 years of sharpening a sword. I understand now. Although Donghuang had a strong desire to show off now, when he heard that this concerned the life and death of two people who were more important to him than his own life, he immediately suppressed his desire to show off and spoke seriously. At the same time, He Jin, who had returned to his residence, was also stunned after hearing He Mingxi's words. No wonder Zhou Donghuang had called his daughter third sister. He was wondering why his daughter had suddenly decided to go on a long trip. He did not expect that she would always give him a heads up before she went on a long trip. So, he had dreamed of things that would happen a long time in the future, and that included my death. He Jin's expression was very serious. Now he had already seen the thousand-star sword technique that Zhou Donghuang had passed on to him. The wonders of the sword technique far surpassed the lightning sword technique of the lightning sword sect, which he had switched to after entering the ultimate Dharma stage. If they were to compare, the difference would be like heaven and earth. After I completely switch to the thousand-star sword technique, I will definitely become the most powerful person in the Honglio galaxy below the divine transformation stage. He Jin's eyes shone with confidence. One had to know that the current him, not only in the Honglio galaxy but even on the Tailao planet and in the lightning sword sect, there were also ultimate primordial soul adepts who were stronger than him. End of this chapter. In fact, he was confident that he could defeat his past self with one blow. Father, I've broken through. After He Mingxi came out of seclusion, the first thing she did was to find He Jin. Her face was full of excitement. The core medicine that little brother has refined is amazing. You've broken through? He Jin's eyes lit up as well and he laughed heartily. Donghuang, you really are a benefactor to us. You've broken through to the mid-Dharma stage and I, after switching to the thousand-star sword technique, have also touched the threshold of the divine transformation stage. He Jin smiled brightly. Congratulations, father. He Mingxi hurriedly congratulated He Jin. Girl. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, He Jin's smile disappeared, and his expression turned serious. Although you've completely switched to the thousand-star sword technique and entered the mid-Dharma stage, before you enter the Dharma stage, you and Donghuang need to keep a low profile. In the past, no one in the lightning sword sect knew about Donghuang's background. No matter how strong his Dharma power was, no one would think that he had trained in a powerful technique. Most people would just think that when he was at the ultimate primordial core stage, he had already trained his Dharma power without restraint. Furthermore, in the past few months, I've intentionally spread similar news. Now, everyone in the lightning sword sect agrees that the reason why Donghuang's Dharma power is so strong is because when he was at the ultimate primal core stage, he had perfected the embryonic form of his Dharma power. But you and Donghuang are different. Everyone in the lightning sword sect knows about your background. Before you enter the ultimate Dharma stage, you must not reveal your perfect Dharma power. As the Autumn Valley head of the lightning sword sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, He Jin was very meticulous. Father, I know. He Mingxi nodded solemnly. Just as He Mingxi nodded, a loud and clear voice rang out from outside. Valley Master He, the sect master has ordered me to invite you to the Lightning Peak to receive a group of people from the Thunder Knife sect led by the Thunder Knife sect master. The people from the Thunder Knife sect are here? He Jin raised an eyebrow, and his lips curled into a cold smile. Some time ago, I heard that the Thunder Knife sect had accepted a rare martial talent from the Tylao planet. At that time, I was thinking that the Thunder Knife sect would not give up on the chance to bring this martial talent to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. And now he's finally here? 24 years old and at the mid-Dharma stage, his martial talent is indeed incredible. But now, in our Lightning Sword sect, there is also a 24 years old mid-Dharma adept. Naturally, Jin was referring to Zhou Donghuang. In the past few hundred years, other than Zhou Donghuang, the first adept to enter the mid-Dharma stage in the Lightning Sword sect was already 25 years old. Girl, it's rare for you to come out of seclusion. Come with me to the Lightning Peak to join in the fun. Jin called out to He Mingxi, and then the father-daughter pair left the Autumn Valley and headed in the direction of the Lightning Peak. End of this chapter. Chapter 245. The Thunder Knife sect originated from the Lightning Sword sect. 6,000 years ago, there had been internal strife in the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, one of the guardians of the Lightning Sword sect had broken through to the divine transformation stage and left the Lightning Sword sect with a group of elders and disciples. They set up their own sect and became the founder of the Thunder Knife sect. The Thunder Knife sect's signature technique, the Thunder Knife technique, was actually the Lightning Sword sect's Thunder Sword technique, except that the weapon used was different. In the past, the Lightning Sword sect's guardians, elders, and disciples who had left the Lightning Sword sect all started to use knives instead of swords in order to differentiate themselves from the Lightning Sword sect. From then on, the Tylao planet had gained a strong sect, the Thunder Knife sect. Perhaps it was the Thunder Knife sect's luck that the founder and the others of the Thunder Knife sect had actually managed to uncover the mysteries of a dangerous place on the Tylao planet after leaving the Lightning Sword sect and discovered a superior spirit stone mine. A high-quality spirit stone mine was the foundation of the top forces in the Honglio galaxy. After obtaining that high-quality spirit stone mine, the Thunder Knife sect developed for a few thousand years and became a powerful sect that could compete with the Lightning Sword sect in all aspects. The Thunder Knife sect was one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. Because they originated from the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect had always wanted to get rid of the shadow of the Lightning Sword sect and liked to compare themselves with the Lightning Sword sect in everything. This time, the Thunder Knife sect had recruited a rare martial prodigy from the Tylao planet, and they could not wait to bring him to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. At the head of the group was the leader of the Thunder Knife sect, Luo Yuanqiu. Leader Luo, what a rare guest. The Thunder Knife sect had come to visit, and as the host, the leader of the Lightning Sword sect personally led the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak to welcome them. The Lightning Sword sect leader's name was Yu Yuqing. He looked like he was in his 50s, but in actual fact he was more than 1,000 years old. He wore a plain robe and had a head of grayish-white hair that flowed down his back. His grayish-white eyebrows were straight, and he exuded an aura of authority. Ah, Leader Yu, speaking of which, we haven't seen each other in 100 years, right? The Thunder Saber sect leader Luo Yuanqiu looked about the same age as Yu Yuqing, be it in terms of appearance or actual age. However, compared to Yu Yuqing's jade-like figure, he seemed ordinary, like a fat merchant in the marketplace. He was covered in jewelry, had a fat head and big ears, and seemed to have a bright smile on his face at all times. Almost 200 years. Yu Yuqing nodded. Sect leader Luo. Sect leader Luo. At this moment, the 4 chief elders of the Rapid Thunder Peak behind Yu Yuqing, who were also the valley masters of the 4 valleys of the inner sect, all stepped forward and took the initiative to greet Luo Yuanqiu. Valley masters, we haven't seen each other for many years. You all look as good as ever, but I have grown old. Luo Yuanqiu grinned at Jin, Lian Kuan, and the others. Soon after, the few old men and women behind Luo Yuanqiu, as well as the young men and women behind the old men, all stepped forward and bowed to Yu Yuqing, the Lightning Sword sect leader. These are the elders of the Thunder Knife sect, and the young men and women behind them are the rising stars of the Thunder Knife sect. After Luo Yuanqiu introduced the people behind him, he smiled at Yu Yuqing and said, Sect leader Yu, this time I came out, I originally wanted to bring these little guys out for a walk and to train. Now that I think about it, it's quite a coincidence that we ended up near the Lightning Sword sect. Hearing Luo Yuanqiu say this, Jin's lips curled into a mocking smile. He could guess that Luo Yuanqiu was about to get to the point. Originally, I did not intend to disturb you, but these young people said that they wanted to come to the Lightning Sword sect to see the glory of the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. At that time I told them, you guys can't compare to the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, you guys are too far behind. But who knew that they would not accept it? In the end, I really could not dissuade them, so I brought them here to pay a visit to your sect, so that they would know that there is always someone better out there. Sect leader Yu, I hope we did not disturb your sect? As Luo Yuanqiu spoke, his smile became brighter as he looked at Yu Yuqing. Of course not. Yu Yuqing's eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light, but he maintained a smile on his face. I heard that sect leader Luo has recently accepted a very talented disciple. He is only 24 years old, but he is already a mid-Dharma adept. I wonder if he is here this time? Yu Yuqing asked. Luo Yuanqiu laughed. Sect leader Yu is really well informed. You even know that I have recently accepted a new disciple. Yujing, come out and greet your senior uncle Yu. As Luo Yuanqiu tilted his head slightly and spoke, the youngest-looking young man dressed in black walked out slowly and bowed slightly to Yu Yuqing. I am Han Yujing. Greetings, senior uncle Yu. After the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing had agreed to the request of the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yujing, he had instructed the 4 valley heads, including He Jin, to bring the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of their respective valleys to the outer sect training grounds. Yu Yuqing himself, along with a few elders of the Lightning Peak, led the group of Thunder Knife sect disciples to the outer sect arena. As the 4 valley heads returned to their respective valleys, the news spread quickly, and everyone in the inner sect knew that the Thunder Knife sect had come to challenge them. The Thunder Knife sect leader actually brought a few mid-Dharma adepts to challenge us? Does he really think that the Lightning Sword sect is easy to bully? Looks like they've come with ill intentions. I've long heard that the leader of the Thunder Knife sect has recently taken in a 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept as a personal disciple. Now that he's here as well, I'm sure he's not weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have threatened to challenge any of our mid-Dharma adepts. If I had known this day would come, I would not have been in a hurry to break through to the late Dharma stage last month. This time, the Thunder Knife sect only brought a few mid-Dharma adepts. If the Lightning Sword sect does not have any disciples of the same level to deal with them, we will be embarrassed. The Thunder Knife sect must have brought their strongest mid-Dharma adepts here. They really have ulterior motives. They came prepared. However, the Lightning Sword sect has no choice but to accept their challenge. After the news spread throughout the 4 valleys of the inner sect, it began to spread to the outer sect. Instantly, everyone in the outer sect, from outer sect elders to outer sect disciples, all rushed to the arena. The Summer Valley. Lianqin, after you were defeated by Zhou Donghuang previously, you were able to enter the mid-Dharma stage under the pressure that Zhou Donghuang exerted on you. Furthermore, your Dharma power has been further refined, allowing you to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of the Summer Valley. You can say that this is a blessing in disguise. Lian Kuan returned to the Summer Valley and asked a few Summer Valley elders to gather the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Summer Valley, and he also found Lianqin today. The Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions. If you can defeat any one of the mid-Dharma disciples from the Thunder Knife sect, I can use this opportunity to ask the sect leader to allow you to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple there. The core disciples of the Lightning Peak were not all primordial soul adepts. In the Lightning Sword sect, some of the most talented adepts had the opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Of course, they needed the permission of the Lightning Sword sect leader. Master, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Lianqin clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining. If he could enter the Lightning Peak early, it would only be beneficial to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 246. Autumn Valley. After He Jin brought He Mingxi back, he went alone to look for the strongest mid-Dharma disciple in the Autumn Valley. At the same time, he asked He Mingxi to look for Zhou Donghuang. Although Zhou Donghuang had yet to display his true power after he had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he was still a formidable opponent. However, in his opinion, the technique that Zhou Donghuang practiced must also be a deity-level technique, which was why he was able to display the battle power of a mid-Dharma adept when he had just entered the early Dharma stage. Now that Zhou Donghuang had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he would definitely be stronger than before. At the very least, within the Autumn Valley and the Lightning Sword sect, it would be difficult to find a mid-Dharma adept who was a match for him. He Jin did not know. The Lord of the Four Supremes, that Zhou Donghuang was currently practicing could only be considered a primordial soul technique, which meant that he could only train up to the ultimate primordial soul stage. Zhou Donghuang would have to figure out the rest of the way on his own. However, even though the Lord of the Four Supremes could only be considered a primordial soul technique, it was still superior to the 3 deity-level techniques that Zhou Donghuang possessed. Be it the Thousand-Star Sword technique, the Fiery Thunder Refinement Regimen, or the Manual of Unruffled Supreme, none of them were as good as the Lord of the Four Supremes before the soul formation stage. Now, with the help of the Lord of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was so perfect that there was no room for improvement. There was no need to train at all. Even the Dharma idol condensed by the three deities' tribulation-level cultivation methods in his possession was close to perfection. It still needed some simple tempering to reach true perfection. Little junior brother. When He Mingxi found Zhou Donghuang, he was in the middle of refining elixirs in his room. He Jin had recently helped him gather some rare herbs, but he had not had time to refine them into the elixirs he needed. However, seeing that Zhou Donghuang did not respond within a short period of time, He Mingxi was not anxious and waited quietly outside. After 15 minutes, Zhou Donghuang finally pushed open the door and walked out. Third senior sister, are you looking for me? Little junior brother, my father asked me to look for you. He wants you to come with us to the outer sect martial arts arena. He Mingxi said. Valley Master is looking for me? Outer sect martial arts practice field? What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang was confused. Following He Mingxi's explanation, Zhou Donghuang finally understood what had happened. Little junior brother, if you can help the sect this time, the sect leader will definitely make an exception to let you enter the Lightning Peak in advance and become a core disciple. He Mingxi said. Zhou Donghuang had long heard that core disciples were treated very well in the Lightning Sword sect. But now he had the unconditional support of the Autumn Valley's valley head, He Jin. He did not care about the treatment of a core disciple at all. He was not too interested in becoming a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, since He Jin asked him to go with him and he had nothing to do now, it was not a big deal for him to join in the fun. During this period of time he had either been practicing or refining elixirs. It had been a long time since he had left the Autumn Valley, so it was not a bad idea to go out and relax. Third senior sister, did you tell the valley head about me entering the mid-Dharma stage? It was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to guess this, because only He Mingxi knew that he had entered the mid-Dharma stage. Of course, out of the 4 Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body, only the White Tiger Dharma power had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The other 3 Dharma powers were still at the early Dharma stage. According to the strict requirements of the Way of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang could only be considered a mid-Dharma adept when all 4 Dharma powers had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The reason why he had chosen to let the White Tiger Dharma power break through first was because it had the ability to deceive others so he would not be too conspicuous. Otherwise, once the Green Dragon Dharma power and the Vermilion Bird Dharma power appeared, anyone would be able to tell that the technique he was practicing was not simple. The Black Tortoise Dharma power could also deceive others, but it was more focused on defense, so it was not as helpful to him as the White Tiger Dharma power. He Mingxi nodded. Little junior brother, it was not convenient for me to fight. Otherwise, I would not have needed you to hold the line this time. I could have defeated Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect. Although He Mingxi had not sparred with anyone since she had entered the mid-Dharma stage, she could still feel how powerful she was. Once her near-perfect sword-shaped Dharma power appeared, even the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley would not be able to withstand more than 3 blows from her. After completely switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, He Mingxi's sword-shaped Dharma power was still the same, but it was no longer the sword-shaped Dharma power of the past. It was infinitely close to perfection. As long as she had enough time, she would be able to train her sword-shaped Dharma power to the point of perfection. Third senior sister, it is indeed not convenient for you to fight. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Whether it was He Mingxi or Donghuang, the people of the Lightning Sword sect knew them very well. If they were to suddenly display their near-perfect Dharma power, some people would definitely suspect that they had obtained an extraordinary technique. At that time, even He Jin might not be able to protect them. Whether it was the Thousand-Star Sword technique or the Fiery Thunder training regimen, as long as they did not cooperate and hand them over, the entire Lightning Sword sect would turn against them. You and Donghuang, before you reach the ultimate Dharma stage, try not to fight in front of others. Even if you do fight, try to preserve your strength. Zhou Donghuang said. My father said the same thing. He Mingxi felt a little helpless, but she also knew that whether it was her father or this little brother in front of her, they were both doing this for her own good. After a while, Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi met up with He Jin. At this time, behind He Jin, there were already 3 young men. They were the best of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Autumn Valley. The young man, who was dressed in a blue robe, was of medium build and had average looks. After frowning at Zhou Donghuang, his gaze landed on He Mingxi, and in that instant, his gaze became gentle. Junior sister Mingxi, You should be reaching the mid-Dharma stage soon, right? Yes. He Mingxi was a little perfunctory with the young man in blue, and she nodded lightly. She did not tell him that she had already reached the mid-Dharma stage. Junior sister Mingxi, I heard from the valley head that the few mid-Dharma adepts of the Thunder Knife sect have come with ill intentions. Today Wang Qing will let them know what it feels like to go for wool and come home shorn. The young man in blue continued. Wang Qing, there's no point in talking big now. Wait until you really defeat them first. Seeing that Wang Qing was not done yet, He Mingxi said impatiently. Junior sister Mingxi, if I defeat them, how about you give me a chance to pursue you? Wang Qing ignored He Mingxi's impatience as if he was already used to it. He continued to smile at He Mingxi. Sure. He Mingxi replied calmly. But if you can't defeat them, from today onwards if you see me make a detour. Wang Qing was stunned at first and then his face lit up with joy. Sure. Unlike Wang Qing, who was drooling over He Mingxi after seeing her, the other two young men were much calmer, and they did not say a word from start to finish. Ibn Luji, when we reach the outer sect arena later, please give me some face. Don't make a move before me. Those idiots from the Thunder Knife sect are mine. Wang Qing said to the other two young men. Wang Qing, since the leader of the Thunder Knife sect dares to bring them to challenge any of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect, it means that they are not weak. Don't underestimate them. One of the young men looked at Wang Qing and said worriedly. Ah, Luji, you're too cautious. They are not weak, but do you think we are? You think too highly of us. Wang Qing said nonchalantly. Shut up. Wang Qing's incessant chatter finally made Zhou Donghuang a little impatient, and he even let out a low growl, interrupting Wang Qing. Instantly Wang Qing's expression changed, and he glared at Zhou Donghuang. Just as he was about to scold him, He Jin said, Wang Qing, be quiet. Hearing He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, speak up, Wang Qing naturally did not dare to speak again. However, his gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was full of hatred and resentment. He was already jealous of He Mingxi and Zhou Donghuang's closeness, and now that Zhou Donghuang was the target of his anger, he was instantly enraged. Zhou Donghuang, you'd better not let me find a chance. Otherwise I will definitely kill you. Wang Qing swore in his heart, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. In this instant Zhou Donghuang felt as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. He subconsciously turned his head to look, and when he met Wang Qing's gaze, he could not help but laugh coldly. What? You want to kill me? Umph. Wang Qing snorted coldly. His voice was so cold that it made one's hair stand on end. It was as if he had silently agreed to Zhou Donghuang's question. Chem? Just then He Jin turned around and saw the murderous glint in Wang Qing's eyes as he looked at Zhou Donghuang, and his expression darkened. Immediately after, He Jin raised his hand casually, and an invisible force rose up. Then, in the void, it turned into tens of thousands of clearly visible sword lights, like stars in the starry sky. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As the dense sword gleams swept past, it was like a rain of swords enveloped Wang Qing from all directions. Wang Qing's expression changed, and he did not even have time to react before the sword gleams engulfed him. The sword gleams dissipated in the blink of an eye, and the blood mist in the air dissipated, leaving behind only a space ring that floated down. In the blink of an eye, a living person had been completely destroyed. He had died without a proper burial. Wang Qing, a disciple of the Autumn Valley, attempted to kill a fellow disciple. As the Autumn Valley head, I will carry out the punishment on behalf of the law enforcement hall and clean up the sect. After Wang Qing's death, He Jin spoke coldly. Apart from Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi, only Lu Ji and Hebin were present, and He Jin's words were obviously directed at them. When Lu Ji and Hebin heard He Jin's words, they finally recovered from the shock of Wang Qing's death. They felt their bodies tremble, and a chill rose from the soles of their feet to their heads, causing their scalps to go numb. End of this chapter. Chapter 247. Just because of one sentence from Zhou Donghuang, a new disciple who had just joined the Autumn Valley for half a year, and Wang Qing had responded coldly, the Autumn Valley head had killed him? Moreover, he had said that he would execute him on behalf of the law enforcement hall. As the Autumn Valley head, He Jin had this authority, but he had never exercised it. In front of others, He Jin had always been kind and amiable. Even though Wang Qing's words had offended his daughter He Mingxi, He Jin didn't say anything. But now He Jin had killed Wang Qing for Zhou Donghuang. Whether it was Liuji or Hebin, when they looked at Zhou Donghuang again, their eyes were filled with fear. Although they did not know why the valley head would do this for Zhou Donghuang, They knew that Zhou Donghuang was not someone they could afford to offend. Donghuang, are you satisfied with how I've handled this matter? He Jin asked Zhou Donghuang with a smile. If they had not seen him kill Wang Cheng with their own eyes, Liuji and Hebin would have thought that he had been replaced. Thank you, Valley Head. Zhou Donghuang nodded with a smile. In that case, let's continue to the outer sect arena. He Jin once again brought Zhou Donghuang, He Mingxi, and the other two disciples to the outer sect arena. The entire journey was silent, and neither Liuji nor Hebin dared to breathe too loudly. The Autumn Valley Head is here. Zhou Donghuang and the others had just arrived at the outer sect arena when many outer sect disciples recognized He Jin, and they all exclaimed in surprise. Now that the four valley heads have brought their people, it looks like the sparring between the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect is about to begin. The people of the Thunder Knife sect are too arrogant, how dare they challenge the Lightning Sword sect? In our Lightning Sword sect, even mid-Dharma adepts are as talented as the clouds. The Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions, we cannot underestimate them. Now, among the group of Lightning Sword sect elders and disciples who had appeared at the outer sect arena to watch the show, some were confident in their own mid-Dharma adepts, while others were wary of the Thunder Knife sect's ill intentions. Zhou Donghuang, what a rare occasion. I didn't expect you to be here too. I've looked for you many times, but you were always in seclusion. Just as the Autumn Valley Head, He Jin, had brought Zhou Donghuang and his group to meet up with the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, who was leading the group, a seemingly frivolous young man walked up to Zhou Donghuang with a smile on his face. This young man was none other than the only son of the Spring Valley Head, Lu Lang. He was a famous spoiled brat of the Lightning Sword sect. Lu Lang stood in the air, his body surrounded by a faint golden glow. It was obvious that he was still at the ultimate primal core stage and had yet to enter the Dharma stage. You're looking for me? What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lu Lang. He was not familiar with Lu Lang. Previously, Lu Lang had pestered him to help him resell the fake goods. Zhou Donghuang had been happy to be free, so he had transferred the fake goods to Lu Lang for him to sell. That time, Lu Lang had successfully sold all the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley. His efficiency was so high that it made people gasp in admiration. Of course, Zhou Donghuang did not feel that he owed Lu Lang a favor because of this, because Lu Lang did it because he thought it was fun. They were just taking what they needed from each other. Can't I look for you if I have nothing to do? Lu Lang looked at Zhou Donghuang with some resentment in his eyes. He grinned and said, at least we can be considered friends now, right? Even Lu Lang did not know why a group of people of the same age as him surrounded him and tried to curry favor with him, but he did not like to bother with them. However, Zhou Donghuang, who was even colder than him, left a good impression on him. He felt that Zhou Donghuang's knowledge of the fake goods was amusing, and he also felt that Zhou Donghuang had just entered the Dharma stage and was able to defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can. He was very powerful and admired him. Friend? Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Young Master Lu, I, Zhou Donghuang, am not worthy of being your friend. If you have nothing to do, go back to where you came from. Zhou Donghuang had heard many of Lu Lang's spoiled brat deeds. He looked down on this person from the bottom of his heart and did not want to have too much to do with him. Zhou Donghuang, you are indeed crazier and more arrogant than me. Lu Lang's eyes flashed and he said with a determined expression, however, I believe that you will acknowledge me as a friend sooner or later. As he said this, Lu Lang looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang and then turned to leave. However, Zhou Donghuang pretended not to hear Lu Lang's words. Little junior brother, that Lu Lang is usually very arrogant and never looks at anyone. I did not expect that he would actually come up to you and want to be your friend, and you even rejected him. He Mingxi smiled. Without his father, he is nothing. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Actually, you can't say that. If you are not included, he is the fastest person in the Lightning Sword sect to enter the ultimate primal core stage in the past 100 years. He Mingxi shook her head and said, he is younger than you by a year, but he has already entered the ultimate primal core stage and has been a golden essence adept for 2 years. Although he is a spoiled brat, his martial arts talent is not bad at all. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed and he did not reply, He Mingxi did not continue on this topic and changed the topic. That is the leader of the Lightning Sword sect, Yu Yuqing. He Mingxi looked at the leader of the Lightning Sword sect and introduced him to Zhou Donghuang. The person in front of Lu Lang is his father, the Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao. After introducing Yu Yuqing, He Mingxi introduced Zhou Donghuang to the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys. The other 3 valley heads had already arrived at the outer sect arena. That is the Summer Valley head Lian Kuan. When you went to the Summer Valley that day, although you heard his voice, you did not see him. Eh? That Lian Qin is here too. That is the Winter Valley head Lung Qianxiu. The Spring Valley head Lu Fengyao stood in front of Lu Lang. He was of medium build and had a scholarly appearance. He wore a gray robe and looked like a middle-aged scholar. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, was extremely short, but his eyes were bright and full of energy. One look and anyone could tell that he was not someone to be trifled with. The Winter Valley head, Lung Qianxiu, was tall and handsome, and his face was like jade. Like Zhou Donghuang, he wore a plain white robe and stood there, exuding a cold aura. The few of them were all middle-aged men. That is the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu. After introducing the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys, He Mingshi continued to introduce the leader of the group to Zhou Donghuang. The Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu was accompanied by a few elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as a few young men and women. Sect leader Yu, most of the people should have arrived, right? Luo Yuanxiu smiled brightly at the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing. Can we begin now? Of course. Yu Yuqing nodded. Those who come are guests. Sect leader Luo, please allow the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife sect to enter first. Hi, good. Sect leader Yu is indeed straightforward. Luo Yuanxiu laughed and tilted his head slightly, calling out, Xie Yun. As Luo Yuanxiu's voice fell, one of the young men and women, a tall young man dressed in a gray robe, stepped forward. After a moment, his figure flashed and he landed in the center of the vast martial arts practice field. Thunder Knife sect inner disciple, Xie Yun, mid-Dharma adept, would like to challenge any disciple of the Lightning Sword sect of the same level of practice, regardless of age. Please enlighten me. Xie Yun stood in the arena, his voice imbued with inner yuan, spreading far and wide. Almost as soon as Xie Yun finished speaking, a large man with a curly beard flew into the arena and stood opposite him. I am Zhang Kuan, an outer disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, a mid-Dharma adept. I am here to experience the skills of the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife sect. Zhang Kuan, finish him. Zhang Kuan, you can do it. The group of outer disciples all cheered loudly for Zhang Kuan, each of them as if they were on steroids. They were extremely excited, as if the one to enter the arena was not Zhang Kuan, but them. This Zhang Kuan is almost invincible in the outer sect at the same level of practice. But in the inner sect there are many who can beat him, He Mingshi said. Zhou Donghuang heard He Mingshi's words. Even Wang Cheng, who died at my father's hands, could at most fight Zhang Kuan to a draw. Lu Ji and Hebin, on the other hand, are slightly stronger than them. Almost as soon as He Mingshi finished speaking, the outer sect disciple Zhang Kuan had already made the first move. A giant Dharma power of 30 feet tall appeared, like a small mountain falling from the sky, shrouding the inner sect disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Xie Yun. Facing the approaching giant fist of Dharma, Xie Yun's eyes narrowed, but he did not dodge like most people had guessed. Buzz. A giant blade of Dharma appeared on Xie Yun's body, and it immediately flew into the sky to meet the giant fist of Dharma. After a moment of stalemate, the latter was split in half by the blade, and the thick inner yuan that had condensed into the giant fist of Dharma dissipated. Ugh! With his Dharma broken, Zhang Kuan, who had suffered the backlash of his inner yuan, opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, his aura also weakening. Although he could still attack again in his current state, there was no chance of him winning. The genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect only has this much power? Xie Yun said mockingly. Zhang Kuan was so angry that his face turned red, and the giant fist of Dharma once again condensed on his body, but it was much dimmer than before. You are no match for him, stand down. At this time, a voice came from the sky, and then a figure descended from the sky, standing in front of Zhang Kuan. Was a young man. Lian Can. He Mingshi looked at the young man in shock, and her eyes showed some surprise. His level of practice has also broken through to the mid-Dharma stage? However, although his Dharma power has been trained well, he has still just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. Normally, his power should at most be comparable to Zhang Kuan's. Since he has come down, it must be that his Dharma power has improved further. He Mingshi guessed. End of this chapter. Chapter 248. Lian Can. It's the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lian Can. Isn't this Lian Can an early Dharma adept? Has he broken through? Lian Can's appearance immediately attracted the attention of many people. Lian Can was no stranger to the outer and inner sect of the Lightning Sword sect. Although there had been rumors a few months ago that Lian Can had been defeated by a young man from the Autumn Valley who had just entered the Dharma stage, this did not affect their understanding of Lian Can's strength. If Lian Can had entered the mid-Dharma stage, his strength would definitely not be weaker than Zhang Kuan's. Moreover, now that he had personally witnessed Zhang Kuan being defeated by a single blade, it meant that he was extremely confident in his own strength. Brother Lian, your godson Lian Can must have just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, right? Can he win? The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao, glanced at the Summer Valley head and asked. Brother Lu, just watch. Lian Kuan smiled lightly. Looks like Brother Lian has a lot of confidence in your godson Lian Can. Lu Fengyao looked deeply at Lian Kuan, and then his gaze returned to the arena. At this time, Lian Can had already begun fighting with the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Xie Yun. Boom. Boom. When Lian Can's giant palm dharma descended, it was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. It was imposing and powerful, as if it could crush everything in its path. Bus, 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 bus. Xie Yun's giant sword dharma was like a ghost, and it was extremely strange. It weaved into a web of blades, and for a moment, it was hard to tell who was superior. Lian Can's strength has increased so much? The scene before her shocked Mengshi. She was certain that if she had not switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, even if she had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, she would not have been a match for Lian Can. Lian Can's Dharma had not only broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, but it had also been tempered to a lot of its flaws. Lian Can's improvement is too great, isn't it? Mengshi was in disbelief. At this time, even Zhou Donghuang could not help but look surprised. He had not expected Lian Can to improve so much in such a short period of time. Not only had his cultivation improved, but his Dharma power had also improved greatly. Lian Kuan, your godson is not bad. He has just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage and already has such strength. His future is limitless. The Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, glanced at Lian Kuan and was not stingy with his compliments. At the same time he promised, if he wins this battle, I will allow him to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Thank you, Sovereign. Lian Kuan's eyes lit up as he hurriedly expressed his thanks. He hadn't expected that this sect master would take the initiative to bring up this matter without him having to mention it. At the same time, Lian Kuan's gaze landed onto Lian Can's figure with a hint of hope. Lian Can, do your best. While Lian Kuan was looking at Lian Can, the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yujing, spoke up impatiently. Xie Yun, stop fooling around. Ah, alright, junior brother Yujing. Hearing Han Yujing's words, Xie Yun laughed. Then the light from the giant knife dharma intensified, overpowering Lian Can's palm dharma in one fell swoop. Then, like a ghost, before Lian Can could react, he was already behind Lian Can. With a single push of his palm, Lian Can was sent flying. Wow! Lian Can spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Lian Can had been defeated. Your abilities are not bad, but it's a pity that you're still lacking compared to me. Xie Yun looked at Lian Can, who had fallen to the ground pathetically and was staring at him with a look of dissatisfaction. He shook his head and smiled. If you could improve your Dharma power further, perhaps you would be able to fight me to a draw. Right now you're too weak. Xie Yun's words made Lian Can's expression darken. Not only had he been defeated, but he had also missed an opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early. Lian Can has been defeated? Lian Can's defeat instantly caused the surrounding elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect to fall silent. Lian Can's abilities were obvious to all. Among all the mid-Dharma adepts in the Lightning Sword sect, he was considered one of the best. But now he had been defeated by an inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect. Although they knew that the Thunder Knife sect had definitely come prepared this time, seeing Lian Can, who was so strong, lose at the hands of his opponent still made the Lightning Sword sect very upset. I didn't expect him to have hidden his abilities. Mengshi looked at Xie Yun in surprise. Of course, although Xie Yun had hidden his abilities with her current abilities, she was still confident that she could easily defeat him. The Thousand-Star Sword technique was a deity-level technique. As one of the best techniques in the universe, the strength of her Dharma power was unimaginable. Lu Ji, you go. Jin turned to look at the Autumn Valley disciple, Lu Ji, who was standing behind him. Yes, Valley leader. Lu Ji replied and landed on the ground. In the blink of an eye he was already in the arena. If you don't count us in? Lu Ji's abilities are the strongest of the mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley, Mengshi said. Lu Ji left the arena and looked at Xie Yun. You rest for a while and then we'll continue. Lu Ji left the stage and looked at Xie Yun. Take a break. We'll continue. There's no need for that. Xie Yun shook his head, obviously not taking Lu Ji seriously. This angered Lu Ji and he attacked in anger. He displayed abilities that were even stronger than Lien Can's, and in the end he defeated the careless Xie Yun. Most of the people present could see that if Xie Yun had rested for a while, even if he could not defeat Lu Ji, he would at least be able to fight to a draw. At the last critical moment, although Xie Yun had taken out an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon in a moment of desperation, Lu Ji also had an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon and still defeated him. Xie Yun, you were careless and now you've lost, haven't you? There were a total of 4 youths from the Thunder Knife sect present today, 3 young men and 1 young woman. Now, the beautiful and valiant-looking woman could not help but make fun of Xie Yun after he returned. I didn't expect this kid to be so much stronger than Lien Can. I failed miserably. Xie Yun was a little angry. If not for the fact that he had used up a lot of inner yuan in his fight with Lien Can, he would have been able to fight to a draw. Lu Ji, you're amazing. Lu Ji is indeed a genius among the Autumn Valley disciples. He lives up to his name. After Lu Ji defeated Xie Yun, the group of Lightning Sword sect disciples who had been silent because of Lien Can's defeat all cheered loudly. Thunder Knife sect inner disciple Wang Ping. Among the 3 from the Thunder Knife sect, another young man stepped onto the stage and used a similar giant knife Dharma power. He fought with Lu Ji, who had used a giant sword Dharma power. Both of them did not use their Dharma spirit weapons because they both had the same Dharma spirit weapons, so they could not gain any advantage. Just like before, when Xie Yun used his Dharma spirit weapon when he was defeated, it was useless and could not change the outcome. After a few dozen moves, Lu Ji was defeated. Wang Ping's ability was slightly stronger than Xie Yun's. Could it be that Xie Yun is the weakest of the 4 mid-Dharma adepts from the Thunder Knife sect this time? Many of the Lightning Sword sect disciples stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with shock as they guessed. And it turned out that they had guessed correctly. Wang Ping was calmer than Xie Yun. After resting for a while, he faced the next Lightning Sword sect disciple, a Winter Valley inner disciple who was slightly stronger than Lu Ji. In the end, both of them fought to a draw. Wang Ping continued to rest and once again faced the Spring Valley inner disciple. This Spring Valley inner disciple was the personal disciple of the Spring Valley head, and his name was Hu Jian. Within 10 moves he defeated Wang Ping. Hu Jian was also one of the Lightning Sword sect's core disciples. He had not even entered the Primordial Soul stage, but he had already been given special permission to enter the Lightning Peak and become a core disciple. The core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect are indeed powerful. Wang Ping sighed in admiration and retreated. At that moment, there were only 2 people left on the Thunder Knife sect's side. But even so, the hearts of the Lightning Sword sect disciples who were present were still very heavy. On their side, even their core disciples had been sent out. If the remaining man and woman from the Thunder Knife sect were stronger than the previous 2, the Lightning Sword sect would be in danger. Who knew if the next person would be able to defeat Hu Jian? Hu Jian was widely recognized as the #1 mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, before he had even entered the mid-Dharma stage, he had been recognized as the #1 early Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. When he was still a Golden Essence adept, he had already begun to train his Dharma power, which allowed him to possess extremely strong battle power when he had just entered the Dharma stage. It was precisely because of this that he had been accepted into the Lightning Peak even though he was only at the Dharma stage, and he had become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Sect leader Yu, this core disciple of your Lightning Sword sect is really powerful. Among the mid-Dharma adepts of your Lightning Sword sect, there is probably no one who can compare to him, right? Although 2 of the Thunder Knife sect's disciples had been defeated, the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu still had a calm expression on his face as he looked at the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, and asked with a smile. Sect leader Luo, it seems like you are very confident in the remaining 2 disciples of your Thunder Knife sect. Yu Yuqing looked at Luo Yuanxiu and sighed inwardly. He knew that he had been too careless. He had not expected the Thunder Knife sect to have so many strong mid-Dharma adepts. Hu Jian was indeed the last trump card of the Lightning Sword sect. Senior Hu Jian, if you defeat the remaining 2 from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll get my Shaoli to introduce you to the beauties of her sect. Lu Lang waved his fist at Hu Jian and shouted, haven't you always been envious of me and wanted to find a soulmate? As long as you defeat the remaining 2 from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll help you find one. Lu Lang's words completely broke the tense atmosphere, and many elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but laugh. You little brat, get lost. The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao, glared at Lu Lang, but his voice was still warm and gentle, without the slightest hint of reprimand. It was clear that he was very tolerant of Lu Lang, his only son. Little brother, look at how calm the Thunder Knife sect leader is. Senior Hu Jian is in danger, He Mingshi said with a frown. It's a pity I can't fight. Otherwise, no matter how strong the remaining two from the Thunder Knife sect are, as long as they are mid-Dharma adepts, I'll definitely defeat them. End of this chapter. This was because he knew that becoming a core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect before attaining the primordial soul stage was as difficult as becoming a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Moreover, the lower the cultivation, the harder it was. The late Dharma stage was harder than the Dharma stage, and the mid-Dharma stage was even harder than the late Dharma stage. He was currently the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. This showed how difficult it was for a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect to become a core disciple at the mid-Dharma stage. Unless he was lucky and met with a special situation. Just like just now, the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, had promised that as long as the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, could defeat the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, he would be able to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. If Lian Ken won, he would become the second mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, Lian Ken had lost. Of course, Lian Ken was lucky to have this opportunity, but a large part of the reason was because he was the adopted son of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. If he was just an ordinary disciple of the Summer Valley, the Lightning Sword sect leader would never have made such a promise. You recover first. I don't take advantage of you. Qing Yangyang said. I didn't use much energy so it won't affect my performance. Hu Jian shook his head. Recover, I don't want to be a laughing stock. Qing Yangyang continued. Hearing this, Hu Jian could only sit down cross-legged and take out a high-quality spirit stone to absorb the spirit energy to recover the inner yuan that had been used up by his Dharma power. After about 10 breaths, Hu Jian had recovered and stood up. I'm done. Please. Qing Yangyang obviously wanted Hu Jian to make the first move. And Hu Jian did not dare to be careless. Since Qing Yangyang had asked him to make the first move, he did not decline. After all, today was the Lightning Sword sect's home ground. If he were to lose to his opponent because of this, he would be the last hope of the Lightning Sword sect. Of course, the reason why Hu Jian had such thoughts was because he had not heard what the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, had said to the Lightning Sword sect Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. In the Thunder Knife sect, the strongest mid-Dharma adept was not Qing Yangyang, but the only 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept, Han Yujing. Hu Jian's Dharma power appeared, and a giant sword Dharma power that was 3 feet tall accompanied his figure as it flew towards Qing Yangyang. Faced with the aggressive Hu Jian who had made the first move, Qing Yangyang's Dharma power also appeared. A giant sword Dharma power that was also 3 feet tall sliced through the air and met Hu Jian head-on. Hu Jian instinctively thought that the woman in front of him was the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect. This was because he could not imagine that the Thunder Knife sect could produce a mid-Dharma adept who was stronger than her. Now, the only mid-Dharma adept from the Thunder Knife sect who had yet to fight was Han Yujing. However, Han Yujing was only 24 years old this year. Even if he had entered the mid-Dharma stage, his Dharma power training would definitely be very rough. One could not do two things at once. When Dharma adepts chose to focus on improving their level of practice, they would naturally have to temporarily put aside their Dharma power training. Do you think that I am the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect? Qing Yangyang asked with a hint of playfulness in her tone. Am I not? Hu Jian's eyes narrowed and an ominous feeling rose in his heart. In our Thunder Knife sect, the strongest mid-Dharma adept is not me but Brother Yujing. In fact, when I fought with Brother Yujing, I could not last more than 3 moves. Qing Yangyang said. Now, the huge outer sect arena was extremely quiet, and only the sound of Qing Yangyang and Hu Jian's conversation could be heard. As Qing Yangyang finished speaking, the entire arena fell into a dead silence. After the dead silence, there was an uproar. This core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect is not the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect? She said, the strongest mid-Dharma adept of the Thunder Knife sect fought with her, and she could not last more than 3 moves? Is that true? Isn't that too much? If what she said is true, then the Thunder Knife sect really came prepared this time. They're trying to trick the Lightning Sword sect. The group of elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, whether they were from the outer sect, the inner sect, or the Lightning Peak, all had ugly expressions on their faces. Is what you said true? Hu Jian asked with an ugly expression on his face. If you don't believe me, you can recover your inner yuan and experience Brother Yujing's power. Qing Yinyang shook her head and said. Almost as soon as Qing Yinyang finished speaking, the young man in black behind the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, had already transformed into a bolt of black lightning and shot through the air. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Qing Yinyang. Looking at Hu Jian, his eyes flashed with contempt and disdain, and he said coldly, I'll wait for you to recover. End of this chapter. He's 37 years old this year, and he's the publicly acknowledged #1 mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. Against Han Yujing he couldn't even last 3 moves. That core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Qing Yinyang, did not lie. Too strong. Such a person not just in the Lightning Sword sect, but even in the other top sects of the Hengliu galaxy, I'm afraid there are no mid-Dharma adepts who are a match for him. Not just the top sects, even in the 2 transcendental forces of the Hengliu galaxy, there may not be any mid-Dharma adepts who are a match for him. His strength is too heaven-defying. At this moment the people of the Lightning Sword sect did not feel despair. Although there was a slight sense of loss, they felt that this was only natural. It was not shameful for the Lightning Sword sect to lose in a sparring match like this. The Thunder Knife sect had taken in this so-called martial arts genius of the Tailao planet, and he could not be judged by normal standards. It was normal for the Lightning Sword sect to not have anyone of the same level of practice as him. Sect leader Luo, your disciple's Dharma power is already comparable to most ultimate Dharma adepts. Yu Yuqing looked deeply at Luo Yuanxiu and said. In this sparring match, he accepted his loss wholeheartedly. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself for underestimating his opponent's determination to trample on the Lightning Sword sect. Haha, Luo Yuanxiu laughed. Sect leader you flatter me. Just so. Sect leader your Lightning Sword sect has a strong foundation, not something the Thunder Knife sect can compare to. I think the Lightning Sword sect must have hidden even more outstanding mid-Dharma adepts. Luo Yuanxiu looked very sincere. Sect leader you don't have to care about my reputation or the Thunder Knife sects. Although we're guests, we can accept failure. You call out the most outstanding mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect to spar with my disciple. You don't have to be afraid of hurting him. Who doesn't have some setbacks when they are young? Don't you think so? As Luo Yuanxiu spoke, his lips curled into a mocking smile. It was obvious that he was mocking Yu Yuqing. The Lightning Sword sect did not have a mid-Dharma adept who could stand shoulder to shoulder with his disciple, Han Yujing. Luo Yuanxiu's words infuriated the valley masters of the 4 valleys. Many of the inner sect disciples present also had a change of expression. Even sect leader Yu Yuqing, although he maintained a smile on his face, it was obvious that his smile had diminished significantly. Sect leader Luo Hu Jian is already the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, even though Yu Yuqing had said this, Luo Yuanxiu did not intend to let him off. Sect leader you don't play dumb with me, we both understand. Don't think that I don't know. The mid-Dharma adept you are hiding may not be a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Just like my disciple Han Yujing, he is also not a core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect. Han Yujing had not been in the Thunder Knife sect for long, and he had immediately become a disciple of sect leader Luo Yuanxiu. Whether or not he was a core disciple was no longer important. However, in the eyes of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing was a core disciple. Even if he had not participated in the core disciple assessment, let alone passed it. Sect leader Luo, enough is enough. Luo Yuanxiu's further mockery made Yu Yuqing a little angry. If he continued to be friendly, who knew what Luo Yuanxiu would do next? Sect leader I didn't do anything? Why do you look so pale? Luo Yuanxiu's smile became even more radiant. At the same time, the disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, who had defeated Hu Jian, retracted his gaze from Hu Jian and scanned his surroundings. He asked calmly, does the Lightning Sword sect have any mid-Dharma adepts who wish to spar with me? Han Yujing's question caused the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect to fall into a dead silence. The Hu family had been defeated so badly. Who else would dare to go up? Furthermore, only mid-Dharma adepts were allowed to go up. Han Yujing continued, I am Han Yujing, 24 years old this year. How about this? There is no need to restrict the level of practice of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, anyone under the age of 30, regardless of their level of practice, can come up and spar with me. As long as you can win, the Thunder Knife sect will be considered the winner of this spar between the Lightning Sword sect and the Lightning Sword sect. This is a very good opportunity to stand out, don't miss it. As he said this, the corner of Han Yujing's mouth also turned up in a slight mocking smile. There were no restrictions on the level of practice of people under the age of 30, and in the Lightning Sword sect, there was no one above the late Dharma stage. This was something he had heard from his master long ago. Hearing Han Yujing's words, the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect naturally cursed him in their hearts. This Han Yujing sure made it sound nice. Within the Lightning Sword sect, the only people under the age of 30 who could fight were a few mid-Dharma adepts, and those people's abilities were far inferior to Hu Jian's. Even Hu Jian had been defeated by Han Yujing, and if those few mid-Dharma adepts went up, they would only end up worse. Seeing that the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect did not move for a long time, Han Yujing's eyes narrowed, and the mocking smile on his lips deepened. What? Is there no one else in the Lightning Sword sect? In Luo Yuanqiu's opinion, not to mention the Tailao planet, even in the entire Honglio galaxy, he might not be able to find a person of the same age as Han Yujing who was a match for him. Junior brother he. As Lian Kun stared at Zhou Donghuang suspiciously, Lian Kun approached He Jin and whispered, "Could it be that this Zhou Donghuang of the Autumn Valley has broken through to the mid-Dharma stage?" Lian Kun knew how powerful Zhou Donghuang was. He had only just broken through to the early Dharma stage, but he was already able to defeat his godson and personal disciple, Lian Kun. When Lian Kun had been at the early Dharma stage, there was basically no one in the Summer Valley who was stronger than him. However, in front of Zhou Donghuang, he had taken the initiative and still lost miserably. From then on, Lian Kun felt that Zhou Donghuang was not as simple as he seemed. Today, even though the Lightning Sword sect's core disciple, Hu Jian, had been defeated by Han Yujing, He Jin still allowed Zhou Donghuang to enter the arena. What did this mean? He Jin had confidence in Zhou Donghuang. Because of this, he had asked He Jin if Zhou Donghuang had already entered the mid-Dharma stage. Although he did not think it was possible, he could not help but ask. This was because he felt that although Zhou Donghuang had displayed powerful abilities when he was at the early Dharma stage, he was at most stronger than an average mid-Dharma adept. Compared to a peak mid-Dharma adept like Han Yujing, he was definitely no match for him. Based on the abilities that Han Yujing had displayed so far, even if he were to face an average late Dharma adept, he might still be able to put up a fight. Senior brother Lian, if you keep watching, won't you find out? Faced with Lian Kun's question, He Jin did not answer directly. He only smiled mysteriously, causing Lian Kun to turn his attention back to the arena. "You're Zhou Donghuang, right?" Han Yujing looked at Zhou Donghuang, a mocking smile on his lips. "If you want to fight me, then show your Dharma power first. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to do so." It had to be said that Han Yujing was very arrogant. However, even the people of the Lightning Sword sect who were present felt that he had the right to be arrogant. After all, even the only mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect could not withstand more than 3 blows from him. Faced with the arrogant Han Yujing, Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change. However, as soon as he opened his mouth, Han Yujing's expression changed completely. If not for the Valley Head's invitation, Zhou Donghuang, would not be interested in standing out to teach a lesson to a frog in a well like you. These were Zhou Donghuang's words. You called me a frog in a well?" The disdain in Han Yujing's eyes was replaced by a cold glint. When he looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. The mocking smile on his lips had also turned into a vicious grin. "A mid-Dharma adept, and with that little power of yours, you're acting like you're invincible. If you're not a frog in a well, then what are you?" Zhou Donghuang said, shaking his head. From beginning to end, his tone was as calm as before, and there was no discernible emotion in it. In contrast to Zhou Donghuang's calmness, Han Yujing was already furious. Whoosh! Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power also appeared at the right time. The 3-meter-tall giant umbrella Dharma power spun continuously above his head. From every angle, it looked perfect and harmonious as if there were no flaws. Of course, this was in the eyes of others. In Zhou Donghuang's eyes, although there were not many flaws in Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power, there were still 2 that were very fatal. One of them was fine as it was hidden on the inside, but the other was on the outside. Even if Han Yujing wanted to hide it, he could not. I'm convinced. This Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang, let's not talk about power, but in terms of arrogance, Han Yujing can't even compare to him. I originally thought that Han Yujing was arrogant enough, but when he's arrogant, it's boundless. Most importantly, he can still maintain a straight face. In terms of arrogance, Han Yujing is really a frog in a well in front of him. Although there were not many people from the Lightning Sword sect present who thought that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Han Yujing, now that Zhou Donghuang was suppressing Han Yujing in terms of aura, it was still a great relief to them. Zhou Donghuang, you said that I'm a frog in a well? Han Yujing stared coldly at Zhou Donghuang, and the 3-meter-tall giant umbrella Dharma power spun even faster at this moment. Then I'd like to see how much you, an inner sect disciple of the Lightning Sword sect who claims that I'm a frog in a well, have. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Yujing moved. His entire body was carried by the giant umbrella Dharma power as it spun and flew out. Not only was his attacking stance aggressive, but his defensive stance was also airtight. Bus, 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 bus. The giant umbrella dermic idol spun in the air like a spiral knife, emitting a series of screeching sounds. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Han Yujing was the first to strike. Furthermore, Han Yujing had attacked in a fit of rage. There was no way he would hold back. I said you're a frog at the bottom of a well. You're not convinced? Faced with the menacing Han Yujing, Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change. As he spoke, the giant tiger Dharma power appeared. The king of all beasts looked down on everyone. Today, if you can receive one of my palm strikes, it will be considered your victory. When Zhou Donghuang spoke again, not only did his words stun everyone present, but the changes to his Dharma power also shocked everyone. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power descended in the blink of an eye and attached itself to his body, causing his body to seem to be burning with a blazing inner yuan flame. In this spiritual essence flame, one could vaguely see some of the characteristics of the giant tiger Dharma power, such as the tiger's head, the tiger's body, and the tiger's tail. At this moment, the Dharma power and Zhou Donghuang's body fused together perfectly. Dharma power possession? And this scene fell into the eyes of those present, and they immediately jumped in fright. Dharma power possession was something that many ultimate Dharma adepts could not achieve before they entered the primordial soul stage. In order to achieve Dharma power possession, one must not only train the Dharma power to the point of perfection, but also have to have a deep understanding of the Dharma power and be able to control the power of the Dharma power like an extension of one's own arm. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, facing the menacing Han Yujing with the giant umbrella Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang's body moved, and he pounced like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain. As his palm landed, the shadow of the Dharma power in the shape of a tiger's claw flashed around his palm, faintly discernible. Bang! Accompanied by a loud sound, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed on the side of Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power, accurately hitting one of its fatal flaws. This flaw was something that Han Yujing had been covering up all this time. The giant umbrella Dharma power kept spinning, and to a certain extent, it was to cover up this exposed flaw. However, even as the giant umbrella Dharma power spun rapidly, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed, accurately hitting this flaw. With the flaw hit, the giant umbrella Dharma power could not withstand the power of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power, and it was instantly destroyed. At the same time, Han Yujing's body trembled as he suffered the backlash of inner yuan. His face turned red and he resisted the urge to vomit blood. Bang! However, as Zhou Donghuang's palm continued to land, brushing past his shoulder, the sudden pressure caused him to open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Han Yujing's robe was torn from the shoulder that Zhou Donghuang's palm had brushed past, revealing his arm. On it, one could vaguely see a scalding red wound, and streams of blood flowed from it, dazzling the eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 252. And this was Zhou Donghuang showing mercy. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang's palm could have landed on Han Yujing's head and killed him. Even if he did not kill him, he could have landed on his shoulder and crippled him. Whoosh! As Zhou Donghuang's palm brushed past Han Yujing's arm, Han Yujing was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bough. He hurriedly activated the remaining inner yuan in his Dharma power and retreated to avoid the attack. Zhou Donghuang did not chase after him. He only stood where he was and looked at him calmly. Are you convinced now? At this time, Han Yujing had completely recovered from his shock. Thinking back to what had just happened, he broke out in a cold sweat. He knew that his opponent had shown him mercy. Otherwise, he would have been crippled even if he did not die. Han Yujing sucked in a breath of cold air and glared at Zhou Donghuang. His expression was dark as he said coldly, "One day I will defeat you." To Han Yujing he was only 24 years old. Although the youth in front of him looked younger than him, he could not rule out the possibility that he was actually much older than him. Is that so? Faced with Han Yujing's threat, Zhou Donghuang only smiled lightly. Then I'll wait and see. At this moment, the onlookers finally recovered from the shock one after another. He won. Zhou Donghuang really defeated the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yujing with just one move? My god. This ability, isn't it too unbelievable? He seemed to have used the Dharma body integration technique just now. As far as I know, in the current generation of the Tailao planet, even among the ultimate Dharma adepts, there are very few who can master the Dharma body integration technique, right? I never thought that the Lightning Sword sect would have such a genius hidden away. The people of the Lightning Sword sect had originally thought that the Lightning Sword sect would lose to the Thunder Knife sect in today's sparring match. After all, even the Lightning Sword sect's only mid-Dharma core disciple had been defeated. They did not expect that at the last moment, Zhou Donghuang would come out and defeat the Thunder Knife sect's strongest mid-Dharma adept, Han Yujing, with just one move. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what had happened just now. Zhou Donghuang had already shown mercy. Otherwise, Han Yujing would have been crippled if not dead. Sect leader Luo, I didn't expect you to know that the Lightning Sword sect has a mid-Dharma adept who is even stronger than Hu Jian. Where did you get this information from? He Jin was not surprised to see Zhou Donghuang defeat Han Yujing in one move. He even looked at the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu and asked with a mocking smile. The smile on Luo Yuanxiu's face, which was always full of smiles, suddenly froze. He looked a little awkward. After a while, he looked deeply at He Jin, then his gaze landed on the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing. Sect leader Yu, the Thunder Knife sect has lost this battle. I really did not expect the Lightning Sword sect to have so many hidden talents. Farewell. With that, Luo Yuanxiu did not even bother with pleasantries. He took his leave and left with the elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as Han Yujing and a few other disciples. Seeing Luo Yuanxiu leave with his people, the people of the Lightning Sword sect felt a sense of pride. When the figures of Luo Yuanxiu and his people disappeared from sight, the atmosphere of the scene became lively again. Haha. The Thunder Knife sect leader must have never imagined that the battle initiated by the Thunder Knife sect would end up like this. I thought we had lost just now. After all, even Hu Jian was defeated. Me too. I didn't expect the Autumn Valley to have a trump card like Zhou Donghuang. When Zhou Donghuang attacked, he displayed a Dharma power that was even more perfect than Han Yujing's Dharma power, and he even used the Dharmic possession technique to defeat Han Yujing in one move. Even the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Hu Jian, could not last more than 3 moves against Han Yujing. Han Yujing was defeated by Zhou Donghuang in one move. From now on, the number 1 mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect will no longer be Hu Jian, but Zhou Donghuang. A few months ago, when Zhou Donghuang went to the Summer Valley and defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Kan, he had only gained a small reputation in the Lightning Sword sect. Now that he had helped the Lightning Sword sect win this battle against the Thunder Knife sect, his name had truly risen to fame, and his name was known throughout the entire Lightning Sword sect. Today he had helped the Lightning Sword sect vent its anger. Most of the people of the Lightning Sword sect were indebted to Zhou Donghuang for this matter. Ha! After the people of the Thunder Knife sect had left, the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing could not help but laugh loudly. Awesome! Awesome! That Luo Yuanxiu, didn't he come all the way to the Lightning Sword sect to show off his genius disciple, Han Yujing? And in the end? He was defeated in one move by an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect of the same age. Now, he must be regretting it so much that his intestines are green. Yu Yuqing laughed as he looked at He Jin. He Jin, your disciple Zhou Donghuang, deserves the credit for what happened today. From today onwards, he will be a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. As soon as Yu Yuqing said this, Lian Kan, who was standing behind the Summer Valley head Lian Kuan, had a look of envy in his eyes. At the same time, his face was full of bitterness. He had originally thought that his breakthrough to the mid-Dharma stage, coupled with the rapid improvement of his Dharma power, would be enough to take revenge on Zhou Donghuang. However, he did not expect that Zhou Donghuang had also entered the mid-Dharma stage, and the power that he had displayed was so strong that even late Dharma adepts would not be able to match him, let alone mid-Dharma adepts of the same level. The power of the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yujing was obvious to all. Even late Dharma adepts would not dare say that they could defeat him in one move. But Zhou Donghuang had done it. At this moment, Lian Can felt the chasm between him and Zhou Donghuang, and this gap was enough to make him despair. Junior brother, your Autumn Valley really hid your strength well. The Spring Valley head Lu Fengao looked at He Jin, his face full of admiration. I never thought that in the Lightning Sword sect, there would be a mid-Dharma adept of this level. Furthermore, you said that he is only 24 years old this year? As soon as Lu Fengao said this, the gazes of the surrounding crowd, with the exception of He Mingxi, all fell on He Jin. He Jin smiled and nodded. At that moment the crowd could not help but gasp. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, sighed and said, Junior brother this time your Autumn Valley has really picked up a treasure. Senior brother can you tell me where did you find this Zhou Donghuang? I would like to try my luck too. The Winter Valley head, Lung Chenxiu, had a serious look on his face and he did not seem to be joking. Enjoying the attention of the crowd, He Jin smiled brightly. This was the first time that He Jin had been so proud in front of these people. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang returned to the sky and returned to He Mingxi's side. Third senior sister, now that this is over, shall we go back? Little junior brother, the sect leader just said that from today onwards, you are a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. You can go to the Lightning Peak to train. He Mingxi said with a smile. Although she knew that Zhou Donghuang did not care whether he could become a core disciple or not and whether he could go to the Lightning Peak to train, she was still happy for him. After all, in the past only she, Donghuang, and her father knew that this little brother of hers was extraordinary. This time, he had gained the approval of the sect leader, which was equivalent to gaining the approval of the entire Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang. At that moment, Yu Yuqing looked at Zhou Donghuang with a kind smile on his face. Today it is all thanks to you that the Lightning Sword sect has been saved. With your talent, it is more than enough for you to become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Allowing you to become a core disciple is not a reward for you. Tell me, what reward do you want? Yu Yuqing asked. Hearing Yu Yuqing's words, Zhou Donghuang's eyes lit up. As the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing's efficiency in collecting the rare herbs that he wanted would definitely be higher than He Jin, the Autumn Valley head. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he miss it? Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang replied bluntly, Sect leader, I want some rare herbs. To Zhou Donghuang, the most important thing now was to quickly increase his level of practice. Now, not to mention the entire Honglio galaxy, even on the Tailao planet or even within the Lightning Sword sect, his current ability was not even worth mentioning. Even with his current ability in the entire Honglio galaxy, he did not need to fear any adept below the ultimate Dharma stage. However, if it was an adept above the ultimate Dharma stage with his current ability, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. After the group of people from the Thunder Knife sect left the Lightning Sword sect under the leadership of sect leader Luo Yuanqiu, the atmosphere was somewhat gloomy and suffocating. Yujing. In the end, it was the sect leader Luo Yuanqiu who broke the gloomy and suffocating atmosphere. A moment of success or failure does not determine anything. Master, I know that. Han Yujing nodded, his eyes shining brightly. Just as I said to Zhou Donghuang just now, one day I will defeat him. This year I am only 24 years old. When he was 24 he might not have had the ability that I have now. Han Yujing said. Hearing Han Yujing's words, Luo Yuanqiu was stunned at first, then smiled bitterly and said, Yujing, I forgot to tell you, that Zhou Donghuang is the same as you this year, 24 years old. As soon as Luo Yuanqiu said this, Han Yujing's expression changed slightly, and the rest of the people from the Thunder Knife sect all looked shocked and incredulous. Even so, it is not impossible for you to surpass him in the future. I am telling you this in the hopes that it will give you more pressure. More pressure, more motivation. Luo Yuanqiu patted Han Yujing on the shoulder and said, Master has confidence in you. Hearing this, the light that had disappeared not long ago not only reappeared in Han Yujing's eyes, but it also became even more brilliant, making his eyes look like the stars in the night sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 253. After defeating Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect in one blow, Zhou Donghuang's reputation in the Lightning Sword sect skyrocketed. When the people of the Lightning Sword sect found out that Zhou Donghuang was only 24 years old, the same age as Han Yujing, they could not help but be shocked. Han Yujing, the once-in-a-century martial arts genius of the Tailao planet? In front of junior brother Donghuang he's nothing. Exactly. He's also only 24 years old. Look at Zhou Donghuang, a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, and then look at him. How embarrassing. Zhou Donghuang did not care about his sudden rise to fame in the Lightning Sword sect. In his previous life he had been in an even bigger situation. This was nothing to him and he did not feel anything special about it. His life was still the same as it had been in the past, refining pills and practicing. What was worth mentioning was that, because of the promise made by the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yuching, that day Zhou Donghuang had managed to gather a batch of medicinal herbs from the Lightning Sword sect that were difficult for Jin to collect. With the pills refined from these medicinal herbs, not only did his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds, but his third senior sister's cultivation also advanced by leaps and bounds. Although the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yuching, had given Zhou Donghuang special permission to become a core disciple and train at the Lightning Peak, Zhou Donghuang had never set foot there before. To Zhou Donghuang, there was no difference between practicing in the Autumn Valley and at the Lightning Peak. Both were in the Lightning Sword sect, and he could not be bothered to move. In the Autumn Valley there were many things that were more convenient. At least, the support and help that the Autumn Valley head, Jin, gave him was something that no one in the Lightning Sword sect could give him. Now, Jin often kept an eye on Zhou Donghuang's residence. As soon as Zhou Donghuang stepped out of his room, he would immediately look for him to chat. All of this was because Jin had once asked Zhou Donghuang a question about practice while they were chatting. After he had asked the question, he regretted it immediately. How could a Dharma adept like Zhou Donghuang solve a problem that was an ultimate primordial soul adept's problem? However, Zhou Donghuang's perfect answer had enlightened him, and he was now getting closer and closer to the divine transformation stage. Among the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, Jin might be the first to enter the divine transformation stage. Jin had thought of this more than once. It was also from that time onwards that Jin often sought out Zhou Donghuang to ask him questions about training, just like a humble student who was listening to a lecture. Every time Jin would gain something. As such, when Jin saw Zhou Donghuang now, he could not help but show some respect in his eyes, as if he was looking at his own teacher. Valley Head, the Lightning Sword sect only has one divine transformation adept? Zhou Donghuang asked Jin. On the surface, there's only the sect master. Jin smiled and said, however, there's another person behind this. It's just that very few people know about this person's existence. In many people's eyes, he had already left the Lightning Sword sect and the Honglio galaxy many years ago to explore other galaxies. Zhou Donghuang was enlightened. He naturally knew that there were countless legacies like the Lightning Sword sect in the boundless universe. If this kind of orthodoxy was powerful enough to be called supreme in a star region, it meant that the star region it was in had an extremely limited cultivation environment and cultivation resources, and the scale was too small. Under such circumstances, many adepts who wanted to reach a higher level or even break the shackles of life would choose to leave the galaxy where their sect was located and head to a wider, more fertile galaxy. They would either die in another galaxy, or they would gain some success in another galaxy and gain a foothold before returning to bring their loved ones over. As time passed, they gradually lost contact with their original sections. There were actually many divine transformation adepts who had left the Lightning Sword sect and left the Honglio galaxy, but very few had returned. After all, the outside world was full of unknowns, and no one knew what they would encounter once they left. Some of them might have died not long after they left the Honglio galaxy. Before they left, they also knew that there was a risk. However, they still chose to do so because they knew that if they continued to stay in the Honglio galaxy, their achievements would be limited. They had to leave the galaxy to have any hope of improving. Not to mention others, just Zhou Donghuang. Why did Zhou Donghuang want to leave the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy? It was because the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy were too small, and the training resources were limited. It was not enough for him to grow quickly. In fact, if he had stayed on the Ziyun planet, even if Zhou Donghuang had 1,000 years worth of memories from his previous life, he would at most be stuck at the primordial soul stage in this life. That person should be stronger than the sect leader? Zhou Donghuang asked. Yes. Jin nodded, and his eyes were filled with passion. The sect leader is at the mid-divine transformation stage. The further one progressed in martial arts, the more difficult it became. Before receiving the 1,000-star sword technique, which was said to be one of the best techniques in the universe, Jin had doubted himself more than once. Would he be able to enter the divine transformation stage in his lifetime? When he had completely switched to the 1,000-star sword technique, his abilities had increased, and his level of practice had increased so quickly that he felt that the divine transformation stage was not far away. In fact, if he was given enough time, the mid-divine transformation stage, late divine transformation stage and ultimate divine transformation stage, which he didn't even dare to dream about, would no longer be a dream. Mid-divine transformation stage? Zhou Donghuang nodded. In his previous life he had discussed with third senior sister He Mingxi about the level of the strongest adepts in the Honglio galaxy, so he had a certain understanding of the situation in the Honglio galaxy. The strongest adepts in the Honglio galaxy were basically at the mid-divine transformation stage. No matter how strong they were, it was difficult for them to appear in the Honglio galaxy. Of course, even if it was difficult, it was not impossible. Even in the current generation of the Honglio galaxy, there might be adepts at the late divine transformation stage, but they were few and far between. Of course, this was only Zhou Donghuang's guess. However, in his previous life, according to third senior sister He Mingxi, she had never heard of any adepts above the late divine transformation stage in the Honglio galaxy. Valley leader, I'm not sure when exactly the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced was. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Jin and took the initiative to bring this up. In my dream, third senior sister only said that not long after she entered the late Dharma stage, the Lightning Sword sect faced a crisis. However, I can't be sure when she entered the late Dharma stage. Now, third senior sister has switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, and with the help of the core medicine that I have refined, her training speed is naturally much faster than before. When she enters the primordial soul stage, the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced probably hasn't even happened yet. Zhou Donghuang said. There should still be some time. I just hope that, when that time comes, I will have the ability to protect the sect. He Jin's expression was somewhat solemn. After all, in Zhou Donghuang's dream, he was one of the members who had died in the battle. Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly. Originally, the best solution would have been for He Jin and his daughter to leave the Lightning Sword sect. That way they would naturally be able to avoid the crisis. After all, they were not the cause of the crisis. However, after spending some time together, Zhou Donghuang understood that He Jin would not easily abandon the Lightning Sword sect. Especially after switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, He Jin would definitely try to use his own strength to protect the Lightning Sword sect. Forget it, I won't think too much about it. I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. Zhou Donghuang had already prepared himself for the worst. At most, he would think of another way to force He Jin and his daughter to leave with him. He would then come back for revenge in the future. Even without my help, third senior sister will definitely be able to enter the mid-Dharma stage by the end of this year. With her talent and the training resources provided by the Valley Head, it will take her at most 10 years to reach the late Dharma stage if she trains normally. That's not to say that there were any changes. If there were any changes such as obtaining a core medicine or spirit fruit that could help her level up quickly, it would definitely not take more than 10 years. Zhou Donghuang wanted to calculate what had happened to the Lightning Sword sect, but he realized that he could not do so at all. There were too many variables in this period of time. There was no way to calculate. If I had known, I would have gone back 1,000 years and asked third senior sister who destroyed the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, third senior sister only told me that it was destroyed by a force stronger than the Lightning Sword sect, and that the culprit was the Spring Valley Head. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang felt a little regretful. Of course, he quickly suppressed this thought because he knew that regret was useless. In his previous life, he would never have thought that he would one day go back 1,000 years and start all over again. Should I ask the Spring Valley Head to leave the Lightning Sword sect? As soon as this thought arose, Zhou Donghuang suppressed it because it was not realistic. Not everyone could be like He Jin and his daughter and accompany him in his madness. Of course, He Mingxi accompanied him in his madness because he knew some secrets about her that only she knew. As for He Jin accompanying him, it was because he had taken out the Thousand-Star Sword technique. He could not possibly hand over the Thousand-Star Sword technique to the Lightning Sword sect leader and ask him to cooperate with him to expel the Spring Valley Head from the Lightning Sword sect. Could he? That was not realistic. Furthermore, he did not trust the Lightning Sword sect leader because he did not know what kind of person he was. He could not risk putting his life in the hands of the Lightning Sword sect leader. In fact, if He Jin insisted on doing so, he would force third senior sister to leave the Lightning Sword sect and find another place to live. Of course, this was just a hypothetical situation. Based on He Jin's character, as long as Zhou Donghuang did not agree, even if He Jin had such thoughts, he would not act on them. Unknowingly, it has been more than a year since I left the Ziyun planet. After He Jin left, Zhou Donghuang sat at the stone table and looked at the flowers and grass in the courtyard. He sighed softly and many figures flashed through his mind.